que salta del cómic.
He thought he was in control. How wrong he was.
Hey, what's up? It's Shane with Dynamics Media, and I'm joined here with Stefan.
Boy.
Damn it, dude. That was my opening joke.
Well, you can't, you always just say, you always introduce me, and then I can just say what I want, so I'm gonna take your thunder away. Call me the lightning thief from Percy Jackson, because I stole your thunder.
Now that we've alienated all of our listeners.
I don't actually know anything about Percy Jackson other than the name of the one book.
You just assume someone takes lightning.
Well, I know that much because I think I watched like a Cinema Sins of it or something.
Yeah, I was going to do We've Been Waiting For You, or I've Been Waiting For You.
Hey, I bet any one of the classic Angus Scrimm lines from this movie would be a good one.
Yeah. Man, what a movie. So if you haven't guessed it by now, due to the reading.
By the title of the episode.
Yeah. We are covering the, was that 1979?
Yep.
78?
1979. Yeah, classic.
Classic Phantasm, which honestly, this movie is, there's a lot to be said about this movie. In my opinion, all of them are good, but I don't know how we're getting through this one, but I can't wait. But I just, some quick housekeeping at the top of the hour.
This is a radio show now.
Yeah.
And here's the traffic report.
So we'll have another review posting this week. I fixed the mobile version of our website, so now it's not cutting off all the words. That was a problem for a lot of people. And then also we have a couple other projects in the work. Stefan and I have some ideas for some other stuff we want to try and get into. You can always find us at social media. So pretty much we're either the Darkside Drive-In or Darkside Drive-In on all social media platforms. I think the one that we're kind of spending a lot of time with right now is Facebook. We've probably had the most interaction on there. I think more people follow us on other platforms, but people seem to actually want to talk to us on Facebook, which is pretty cool. So if you haven't checked out Facebook yet, go over, just follow the page, leave a comment, just kind of say, hey, what's up? If you have a movie suggestion, that'd be great too. We're definitely going to add it to the list. We have a pretty big backlog, but I think with how Stefan and I are planning the show, maybe more Stefan than me, on what we're watching. We do have blocks, so if something comes up that's, maybe fits something, we might push a block up or move some stuff around. So I don't know. Do you have any housekeeping you want to get into, Stefan? Anything brewing over in land? Oh shit. I'll cut that out. In Stefan land?
Oh, because you said my last name. I'm not as protective of my last name as you are, because it's not as mine's pretty common. So.
Mine's Demetrius.
Yeah.
Good luck.
What was I going to say now? You know what
I'm going to do? I'm going to bleep it.
Okay. I mean, I don't care about it, but okay. What I was going to say, I was going to apologize. Okay. Yeah. So what I was going to do is I was going to apologize for the Piranha episode because I was very low energy, because that was like when I had messed up my sleep schedule and I had like woken up at like 5:30 a.m. that day. And I was like, no one will be able to tell. Right. And then I listened to the beginning of the episode and I was like, yeah, you can tell that I was like tired. It was like an hour in before I started getting my energy back. So I was going to apologize because of the way my voice sounded in that. But then now today I have this like cold or allergies or something I'm like fighting off right now. So my voice definitely does not sound normal again. And I'll try to mute myself every time I do a sniffly so that you can't hear it come through the microphone.
Oh, geez. Well, I try to get most of them, but it happens.
I mean, if I sniffle enough, you just won't be able to. It'll be like when you play horde mode and there's just too many of them.
Too many hordes.
Too many of the hordes.
So many hordes. Well, I think we should move into everyone's favorite segment, the reason for the season, why they're here. It is our insert really cool, awesome, catchy game title. that we have still yet to decide on. So if any of you have an idea, let us know. We'll steal it. Last time.
Wait, we don't have a name for our game segment?
I mean, do we?
I mean, you have a theme song. I just assumed we had a name for it, but yeah, I guess we don't have a name for it. You just usually throw in some kind of like effect or something, right?
Yeah.
So
I know. I mean, if we'll come up with it. But so last time, boy, I thought you were gonna get this.
I knew I wouldn't.
Well, as soon, yeah, but okay. So the question was, so we did. You have to name the movie based off the quote, the famous quote from the movie, and the quote was, "I'm going to give you the chance I never had." And Stefan, you guessed.
I guessed 7.
And the correct answer was Interview with the Vampire, or with the Vampire. Interview with the Vampire. And you, as soon as I started saying the word "enter," you caught it. You're like, shit.
Yeah, because it's the scene at the end where, after the interview, the reporter is in the car, and Tom Cruise is like guzzled him up, and then is like giving him the option to become a vampire or not.
Yeah. So
should have known.
Yeah, I mean, hey, can't all be winners. What an interesting movie. It's like and I guess I get now, like looking back at it, because like they were famous when they were all in that movie, but not as famous as they are now, like the actors and stuff. So it's just crazy seeing these movies that have like 5 or 6 like just Hollywood blockbuster stars in it. But so I don't really have strong feelings about that movie either way. Do you?
No, I actually don't think I've ever seen the whole thing. I think I've only seen it in like patchwork sections. Like I've watched various parts of it, like the stuff with like Kirsten Dunst's character like throwing a fit because she will never age and can't cut her hair and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like there's like random moments like that I'm like, oh yeah, that's from this movie that I've never actually seen in its entirety. Ironically, another of what's the name of the author? Anne Rice. Another one of Anne Rice's like from like the same Vampire Chronicles series is Queen of the Damned, and I have seen that movie in its entirety. And it's like definitely like not as well regarded as Interview with the Vampire.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to today's question.
Is it a question or is it like another quotable?
It's a question.
Okay.
I'm going to try to, the quotes are going to be few and far between, I think. But, so are you ready?
I'm the readiest I've ever been.
Okay. Which movie has the tagline, "Man is the warmest place to hide"?
That's the tagline of the movie? I'm guessing it must be involved in like something about the plot of it.
Would a year help you?
Maybe. Try it out.
Okay, 1982.
Oh, I'm gonna say John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm going to say that because Antarctica.
Final answer?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I'm not good with taglines either, so if it was like something like in space, no one can hear you scream. I'm like, yeah, duh, it's alien.
Duh, Jurassic Park. Okay, so find out next time. Now I haven't said next week. I always say that. I think next week sounds better, but it's always next episode.
Stay peeled.
Stay peeled to Facebook for the question and witty banter provided by our friends. Sorry, I just saw a picture of Wilford Brimley come up and anywho. All right.
Every time you see Wilford Brimley, you gotta remember 2 things about him: diabetes and monsters in Antarctica.
Yep. And also westerns and mustaches.
Do you know? Okay. So here's a fun thing. So I like to go to watch movies, like old horror movies. This is not a secret that I go to see them at the Row House when they show up. or anywhere really, like anywhere that
Shout out
plays
to
them.
Rojas.
Yeah, but anywhere that plays them. And I remember the first time that I went to see The Thing in theaters, I think since like, probably since like college. I think I'd seen it at one point in college in a theater somewhere, but like it had been the first time, and it was like kind of recently. And remember the scene at the beginning where the Norwegian like helicopter is like shooting at the dog.
Yeah.
The people in the audience are like, no, don't kill the dog. Like, oh my God, it's not a dog. Like these people haven't seen this movie.
Oh, that's wild. So that was the first time they saw it?
Yeah, so they didn't even know that this dog is like the thing, and then it's evil. And then the scene later when the dog is in the kennel and it turns into like the tentacled monster and starts like absorbing the other dogs, they were like losing their minds. It's like to have it be the first time watching The Thing, what a joyous experience to be had.
How funny. I like 10 minutes later, like, shoot that dog.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like they're like, don't kill the dog. I'm like, oh no, they haven't seen it. They don't know.
It's like, oh no. No, it's like super kill that dog.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, once you see what it became, for
Dude,
sure.
what is wrong with us? This is like I'm serious, this is our 10th episode in a row.
Well, okay. I mean, about like dead dogs. Well, number one, that wasn't a dog. That was, well, I guess the dogs in the kennel that the thing dog absorbs, those are totally all dogs. Yeah. But no, but like at least that's not the movie. That's just a movie I brought up during game time. So we'll find out if it's even relevant to the larger episode. But like in the actual movie this time, like spoiler alert, but no dogs die in the Phantasm. In Phantasm, not the Phantasm, sorry.
Hold on. So we can't, at the end of the movie, I can't because it'll ruin it. Never mind.
All right.
It's not worth the bit. It's not
stay peeled to find out if there's a dog that dies at the end of this movie, which I guarantee you there is.
It's implied though. It's implied.
What? Okay, yeah, put a pin in that. Let's address that when the time comes. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, 3 hours, we'll see if I remember about it, but
sure. But no, I don't. Yeah, like it's not like we are over here relishing in the death of dogs, except maybe chocolate from the video Dead.
Yeah, the skunk rapist.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, take that, Jared. Explain that to your kid. Also, shout out, you're awesome. So yeah, I know he listens. So
yeah, well, maybe like you'd mute my name. Maybe you might want to mute the name of our friend's kid.
Dox it. All right, I'll take it out.
Yeah, nice try though.
I'll do this one. How about shout out to Jared's son?
There you go. No one will ever figure it out. Yeah,
whose level at Fortnite is rather intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, young people, they have time.
That was the best burn I think I've heard in a long time.
Which part?
When he popped into chat and was just like, "Hey guys, not to alarm you."
Oh yeah, when he told us not to be intimidated by his level, it's like,
dude, I've never laughed that hard. I think it was good. I needed it.
Well, I was like almost level 100. Like I'm not like anything to sneeze at.
Yeah, man, that was too funny though. Anyways, all right, sorry, Jared.
I took it personally.
It was funny, man. And then he took all your gold and he kept taking your guns.
It's kids these days, man. They don't have any sense of etiquette. They just take all your stuff.
It was so funny, man. Anyways, back to Phantasm. So why don't we hop into the cast and crew here?
Yeah, we can do that. But can I just explain why it is I keep calling it the Phantasm?
The Phantom?
No, because Billy Zane? No, not at all. No, it's because of the Batman animated movie, Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes.
Which I meant to make a joke about that earlier because I was like, oh wait, Shane, I accidentally watched Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I watched the wrong movie. I was going to do that joke, but then I forgot about it. But then now every time I say the movie Phantasm and I always say the Phantasm, it's 100,000% because of that movie.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, absolute banger. If you are a fan of Batman the Animated Series, Kevin Conroy's Batman, Mark Hamill's Joker's in it.
R.I.P. dude.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Kevin Conroy. But
but no, that is such a good movie.
No, it is for sure. I wonder if it's on Max or if they've like sold it off to somebody else because David Zaslav needs more money for another boat for his family.
It's on Max.
Oh, sweet. So even Max is capable of making smart decisions every once in a while and keeping an absolute banger of a Batman movie on there.
I think you have to, man.
Mask of the Phantasm. I don't know though.
Cover art.
Well, yes. But here's the thing. So I'm actually prepared. So you know how like there's like so much talk now about how like physical media, you want to go back to physical media because they're starting to like purge content. Stuff's just disappearing forever. I have Batman Mask of the Phantasm on DVD. I'm ready for when the purge occurs. And like, you know what? If I want to watch the part where the Phantasm is like, what is it, Mr. Bronsky, your angel of death awaits. It's like, I can hear it right now. Just pop that DVD into the receptacle and press play after the trailers and the animated menus, because it was from that era of DVDs. Boom.
Like the forced
the crazy animated menus. The forced previews and then the crazy animated menus. And then you finally get in and it's like, can I hit the play button yet, or am I still watching a animated menu?
So hey kids, we're gonna sit you down for a second because
have a seat by the fire next to Reggie and Mike, and let's have a chit chat.
Do a little pat noise. You can come over here and sit down. Because we're at the age now, fellers, that
who are you talking to exactly?
A lot of you kids don't know what DVDs are.
That's not true. They know.
Dude, I'm telling you. Do think about this in your head, okay?
All right.
They know what Blu-ray discs are. Think about a child going over to their friend's house, and they never will have the experience of all of them falling asleep and the DVD menu replaying for 7,000 times on repeat, creating just crazy fever dreams while you're all sleeping. So,
like whenever I used to, this is actually not even when I was a kid. This is when I was in college, living at the fraternity house.
I was an adult.
When I wasn't I was pretty much, legally, I was an adult.
Birthday with the boy. Dinner with the band.
Okay, but almost related. So what would happen is, it was when my buddy Kevin was living with me for the summer, and we got this idea in our heads that we're gonna buy up all the seasons of Smallville and watch all of Smallville. But that would happen is like we'd like fall asleep and like the DVD menu would come up, and it was that Smallville song, the "Somebody Save Me," just over and over again.
Yep,
it's so good. And
oh my god,
yeah, those were the days.
Dude, what a wild summer! I remember that.
You weren't living in the house at the time, but you were around. Yeah,
man. One of my friends. I mean, he's both of our friends. I don't think he listens to the show. Not because he wouldn't. I just don't think he knows it exists. And he also is probably in a van, just chilling out, being a hippie somewhere. But dude, we came to that one birthday party in the summer. That was a wild series of events that almost ended up with me in jail. So sorry, Mom. But that was a crazy summer. But yeah, shout out to Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Konnichiwa, Kevin.
Oh yeah, because he lives in Japan now. Yeah, that's true.
Whoa, you didn't have to tell everyone.
Otherwise, it would have been weird that you said, well, number one, it's a very large country. Like, he could be anywhere there. Well, they're going to do dox him. They'll never find him.
Oh, man.
But otherwise, it wouldn't make sense why you'd say konnichiwa. All right, whatever. You're not going to guilt me into that one. Should we just continue the show? Like, we've gone on too many tangents already.
We're getting them out. We're shaking them out.
Shake out them tangents. Sorry, that cold medicine's kicking in. All right.
Which way? Which kind did you take?
All of them.
Oh God.
I did the Robitussin. I had some like sinus and chest congestion stuff, and then I had just like some generic Dayquil, and I'm just like, boom, bang, bing, let's get them all done. We got a show to do. This could take 3 hours. We got to do it.
I could go outside and dunk a basketball.
That's not true. All right, the Phantasm. Wait, no, hold on. Take two. Phantasm cast and crew. You don't do a musical bit for this, do you? We just kind of go into it.
I can. Do you want me to?
No. No. Okay. All right. Use take two. Phantasm cast and crew. Here we go. Writer and director, double threat, Don Coscarelli, baby. Who's like way younger than I would have thought somebody who made a cult classic from 1979 would be. He was like in his 20s when he made this.
Yeah.
He was a young dude. His first credit that I had, which is both like a writing and directing credit again, is Jim, the World's Greatest, which I guess he was like the youngest director ever to like sell a major studio a distributing movie or something. Like an independent film that got like a big studio distribution deal. because he was like in his like mid-20s or something when it happened. It's like wild to think about. And that was her, yeah, Jim the World's Greatest. Some of his other stuff kind of alternate between bangers and things I don't know about. Kenny and Company, The Beastmaster, Dio, The Last in Line, Survival Quest, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, Phantasm 4, Oblivion, Bubba Hotep, and John Dies at the End, which is kind of an underrated little gem. John Dies at the End.
That's such a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. And you might notice we skipped Phantasm 2. Apparently he wasn't the director on Phantasm 2, but he was the writer on it, at least credited as the writer. I don't understand what went down with that. I know Phantasm 2 isn't looked upon as favorably as Phantasm 3 and Phantasm 4. And I think he was also the director, or he had a writing credit on Phantasm Ravager, which is the one from like 2016 or 2017. But I don't believe he directed that one either, but I can't check my math on that. So if I'm wrong, too bad. Sue me. Also
don't sue us.
Don't sue. Well, no, sue me. Oh wait, no, I don't want to get sued. And then also he has writing credits on Beastmaster 2 Through the Portal of Time and Beastmaster 3 The Eye of Braxis. But I think that they were just like characters created by credits. You know how that happens sometimes, like you get like a legacy credit because they continue to use your stuff. Yeah. And kind of a fun fact that I didn't bring up in like the cast and crew list. But there's actually both of his parents are on the credits for Phantasm. I can't remember what his dad did, but his mom was on the makeup department and then the hairstyling department, which is such a funny idea. I can't remember what his dad's credit was, but it's like it was a real Coscarelli family affair here. Because apparently, like both his mom and his dad were like best-selling authors. So
really?
Yeah. I mean, unless like my notes are totally wrong, which could happen. Cold medicine.
Doubtful.
But yeah, it was funny that they were both there, and I think that I can't remember how the father was credited, but I believe his mother was not even credited by her actual name, but in IMDb they had it as her name and then as like some other name, like Sylvie something, which is kind of a funny idea that she wasn't actually credited by her actual name. So Don Coscarelli, anything else you want to say about good old Don?
No, I just like he makes good series and he sticks to them. So good on you.
Yeah, like he actually had a plan apparently at one point, which was to do like a legacy sequel to the Phantasm series, I think before Ravager happened. Mm-hmm. But he couldn't get to an agreement with the studio because his idea was to have like all of the old cast return, at least the ones that are still alive in the later movies, and then have them like pass the torch to like a new group to fight the Tall Man and his people, and then a new antagonist to take over for the Tall Man. But apparently like the studio didn't like that. They wanted to do a straight up remake. So he ended up doing a legacy sequel of his own, which was Ravager, which was done with like a different studio. So a lot of studio politics were involved with that, but it's kind of cool that he stuck to his guns. I don't think Ravager turned out that good. But you know, at least he made the movie he wanted to make, I guess. Like that's something. All right. Next up, music. We have two composers credited here, Fred Myrow and Malcolm Seagrave. Fred Myrow has a bunch of credits. He had In Search of America, Scarecrow, Soylent Green, Jim the World's Greatest, and Kenny and Company. So, you know, getting back in with Don Coscarelli there. Phantasm 2, Survival Quest. What's Up, Hideous Sun Demon? I don't know what that movie is, but that's a hilarious title.
Sounds right up our alley.
Yeah, What's Up, Hideous Sun Demon?
Holy shit. Did you click on the pictures of this?
No, I just saw the title and I thought that's hilarious. And then it moved on.
Dude.
Does it look cool? Should we watch it?
We should.
Now I have to look it up. You can't just, I'm in the middle of a roll here.
I'm sorry.
Now I've gotta.
It's only on Amazon though, so maybe not.
Oh no.
It's rent or buy only. Fucking Jeff.
Jeff Bezos.
Fucking Jeff.
I knew we couldn't trust you. This movie looks kind of bad though. The blaze of the sun made him a monster. Oh wait, that's the original. That's the original Sun Demon. Then this one's tagline is your favorite neighborhood party animal is back. What did they do to this series?
I know, dude. I can't wait.
I might have to run that just so, like, now my curiosity's gotten the better of me. Because like the first one was him like in 1962, like murdering people with sun rays. And this one is like some kind of weird creature hugging a lady. It's like your favorite party
like,
animal's back. Is like, is he?
Last time I murdered, now I'm surfing.
They just ran out of ideas. Just like, we have a property to make. Like, well, we want to have a party animal. Who should it be? It's like, how about this sun demon? We need another legacy sequel to that guy. All right, cool. Love it.
It actually looks like it says they call it. It actually looks like it's voiced over. So it's like almost like a Mystery Science Theater kind of thing.
Like a Kung Pao.
Yeah, it's redubbed and re-edited.
Love that.
Spoof.
I love that idea. That's actually cool. Yeah, I might have to pay to rent that then. I'm going to finish up with Fred Myro here. Phantasm 3 Lord of the Dead, which I think is a composed music by kind of thing, because he also had Phantasm 4 Oblivion and Ravager, and I think both those were legacy credits. Love is a Gun, Plan 10 from Outer Space. I don't know what that is. I was just like, is that a sequel to Plan 9 from Outer Space that I just never have heard of? But it was like in 1994, so it could just be like a terrible, like, straight-to-video movie. Who knows?
Hey, guess what?
What?
It's a terrible movie.
What's that?
It looks like it's a terrible movie. You can't watch it anywhere.
Well, let me tell you a secret about Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's also a terrible movie, but you can watch it everywhere because people have got in their heads that it's like a classic of the genre. I actually find Plan 9 from Outer Space very difficult to sit through.
Oh my God. We got to stop. I just read that. We got to go. Move on.
We got to go. All right. Then Malcolm Seagrave. His only other two feature films were Magic and Note. But he also had legacy credit on Phantasm 4 Oblivion and Phantasm Ravager. So the same like composed main theme. And I guess that's all the music they used from both of them. And I think it might be because they definitely had both passed away, I think, by the time of Ravager. I don't know if they had by Oblivion or not, but they definitely they passed away. I think in like the mid to late 90s. Next up is special effects. And we're going to go to our man, Paul Pepperman. Actually, this is the only film that he was like listed as a special effects supervisor on, but he was the production manager and assistant director on Jim the World's Greatest and Kenny and Company. So already a collaborator with Don Coscarelli, but then he's also a co-writer on Beastmaster, like the Beastmaster, and then on the subsequent sequels. He was also listed as like a character like credit on the Beastmaster television program, which I don't think Don Coscarelli had. So it's kind of weird that he had that extra bit of like credit. But there you go.
Holy shit, I remember this show.
The Beastmaster show that it was like on WB or something, wasn't it? Like it was like on one of the off-brand like cable networks. Maybe it was like even a straight to like syndication show. Like before that was kind of put like on ice after like Voyager, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think Star Trek Voyager was like the end of like, because like what happened was they used to be able to release shows like straight to syndication, but then they would sell them to like independent like TV stations and stuff. But then UPN was like the one buying up all the independent affiliate stations, and then eventually merged with WB into the CW, and that kind of brought an end to the independent affiliates and then like that era of syndication support, if I remember the way it went correctly, because it was like UPN's flagship series, I believe at the time, was Voyager, which is ironic because Star Trek The Next Generation was the one that was like gave rise to that era of syndicated television, because it was straight to syndication. It wasn't like a network show. Yeah, super interesting. Let's write a book about it. Wait, was I done with? Yeah, I was done with Paul Pepperman. Bye, Paul. To the cast. First up is Mike, as played by A. Michael Baldwin. Also Kenny and Company. Phantasm 2, but only a little bit, because they actually recast him in that. Like he played the child version of himself, but then they like replaced him with a different actor, which was like widely regarded as not a good move for like an older version of him. But then he came back for Phantasm 3 Lord of the Dead, Phantasm 4 Oblivion. He eventually would come back for Phantasm Ravager. I'm trying to be careful about the movies I say in the in-between, because I'm pretty sure that they are softcore porn. I don't know how involved he was in those, but he was in a couple of them. But then the ones that look like they weren't were It Came from the Dead, Pickaxe, and then Flay. So he's like doing some low-budget horror, but also like this one's called Virtual Girl 2 Virtual Vegas. I'm like, ooh, that might be porn. So you can never really tell. But there you go. That's Mike.
I'm pretty sure it's porn.
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. Next up is Mike's older brother, Jody. Is played by Bill Thornbury. He was in a movie that's called Sarah T, Portrait of a Teenage Alcoholic. And that's got to be like some kind of like after school special or something, right? What looked like some kind of like sex comedy, maybe. It was called Summer School Teachers. Then The Lost Empire, which is like another one of those like cult classic movies. It's not like a horror one, though. It's like more like an exploitation / adventure one.
Holy shit. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay. Guess who was, this is fucked up. Guess who was in Sarah T, Portrait of a Teenage Alcoholic?
I will not guess.
Think of a very, I mean, there's a ton of famous people in this.
Really?
But think of someone, yeah, dude, there's a ton. Mark Hamill.
Luke Skywalker himself?
Yeah.
The Jocker himself?
Emmett Walsh is in this too.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
What?
I don't know who Emmett Walsh is.
You 100% know who that is.
I don't know who everyone is on Earth.
He's Bryant in Blade Runner. He's Harv in Critters.
Okay, yeah, I do know who that is.
Anyways, all right, sorry.
No, it's good. I like being corrected in the middle of a sentence.
What? Oh my God.
I'm kidding. Back to Bill Thornbury. He was in Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, and then Phantasm 4, Oblivion. And Phantasm Ravager, but I don't think he was in Phantasm 2, which is interesting that he's not, but also based on the ending of this movie, interesting that he's in the other ones.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say this is pretty.
There is a reason for that. Do you want me to tell you what it is now and then kind of spoil the movie later, or I can explain it at the end?
Yeah, do it at the end.
And then he's in 2024's Cheyenne, and he also did the music for whatever Cheyenne is. I don't know what it is. It didn't have an image on IMDb, so I'm imagining it must be a pretty small project.
Yeah.
But anyways, next up is our balding ice cream man hero, Reggie. It's played by Reggie Bannister. And
also like star of the series.
Yes,
which is, man, this guy picked a haircut and fucking rocked it.
He got one that would age with him, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it almost looks like he cut it that way on purpose.
I wondered about that because he's supposed to be, so I point this out in my notes, but he's supposed to be like one of a trio with Tommy, who I haven't brought up yet, and then Jody, who I have. But Jody looks way younger than both those guys. But I'm like, is it just because Reggie like has that giant bald spot and then like the ponytail in the back? Like, I don't know what that style is, but maybe it's like all on purpose. So you can just keep that classic look like that combined with like his ice cream man outfit of like the white shirt and the black tie and the white pants. And like he has like the ice cream man look down. But yeah, some of Reggie's stuff. So he was literally cast, like the character was written by Don Coscarelli for him. He like intended him for this the entire time. Like I have to imagine they're besties. So Jim, the World's Greatest, Kenny and Company, Phantasm 2, Survival Quest, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, The Demolitionist, Wishmaster, Phantasm 4, Oblivion, Bubba Hotep, The Mangler Reborn, which I didn't even know they made another Mangler movie, Dead Things, Cemetery Gates, parentheses, but not the song by Pantera, Last Rites, The Rage, Necronaut, Sigma Die, Spring Break Massacre, Satan Hates You, Carnies, Sawblade, Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, Zombie Family, Phantasm Ravager, Bone Jangles, Killer Waves 2. And basically the last 6 of those were all like within the last 10 years. This man's still out there doing the Lord's work. I
know. I want to see some of these. They look actually really good.
I'm very curious about it because you know what? He's actually when I first saw him in this movie, like the very first time I saw it, I was like, this dude's a joke. And then like throughout the movie, I'm like, oh wait, Reggie's the man. So yes, I would love to see more of the stuff that Reggie Bannister, actual name Reggie.
Dude, I want to see Metal Man. That looks so good.
Was that another one? I know I skipped around a little bit because he has a ton of.
It has a 1.5 rating.
I truly don't think a lot of these latter movies are good, but I do think that he would probably gave them his all because he's seems like that kind of performer. When he's going for it, he's going for it.
Sure is.
But yeah, now that we got our main trio out the way, let's move on to our antagonist, the Tall Man, as played by Angus Scrim. Did you want to do one of his lines now, since I kind of stole your boy earlier?
I'm trying to think of a good one. I've been waiting for you.
Isn't that what he said earlier? But
yeah, he only has like 3 lines.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
and
so
some of them are the same line.
You play a pretty good game, boy.
Yeah. Oh my God. We'll get there.
I have that entire line typed out. The entire
God, what
2 lines he says.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, but he was also like an oft collaborator with Don Coscarelli. He had Jim the World's Greatest. He had some other ones here. Lost Empire, Chopping Mall, which before we started recording, I told you I didn't even mention Angus Scrim was in Chopping Mall, but he was the scientist that created the robots. And I failed us. But here's the thing. This is a more of a starring turn for him. So it's probably better that I saved my energy for this Angus Scrim.
For sure.
Yeah. Phantasm 2, Transylvania Twist, Subspecies, like the Ted Nicolau, Charles Band produced vampire movie. Munchie, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, Vampirella, Wishmaster, Phantasm 4, Oblivion, Satan Hates You. So you notice a couple of those are definitely ones that he collaborated with Reggie again on.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see. John Dies at the End. Always Watching, a Marble Hornets story, which is one of those Marble Hornets that those internet videos that we used to watch in college that I was always confused about.
So that one is not part of that.
Well, it must be from the same people, right? Because it says a Marble Hornets story.
No.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
It's a high budget, not high budget. It's a mid-budget mockumentary of those people making that stuff.
Oh, interesting. Why is he in it then?
He doesn't even play. I don't even think he plays Slender Man.
Well, no, he's not Slender Man. He's Tall Man.
No, but in the movie he just plays a normal dude. But there's a couple people in here that are kind of TV famous.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like Jake McDorman. So I don't know if you've seen Greek. He's the boyfriend in Greek. Christopher Marquette's in this from Barry, Fanboys, Just Friends. He's the little brother in Just Friends.
I don't know what Just Friends is.
He's mildly, he's famous. He's not he's not selling tickets famous, but Alexandra Brackenridge is in this and people might know her. She's the star of Virgin River now. So there were a lot of people that were kind of up and coming.
What are all these things you're talking about? I've never heard of any of these.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Never mind.
Wait, Just Friends? Is this movie with Ryan Reynolds in it?
Yeah, dude, that was a big deal.
Okay.
Doug Jones is in this one. So Doug Jones played the amphibian man in Shape of Water.
Yeah, dude, I know who Doug Jones is.
Okay. Wow.
He's Abe Sapien, dude.
Wow. He's in
What We Do in the Shadows. He plays the Baron.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I thought you might comment.
I'm not. No. Since you called me out, I'm not playing your games. Anyways, no. It's yeah.
There's a big difference between me not knowing who Doug Jones is and not knowing a movie called Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart from 2004 or something. How would I remember what that is?
And Anna Faris.
Oh yeah, you're right. Anna Faris is in it.
Stop
the presses.
Oh my God. I'm telling you.
Can I finish with my dude Angus Scrim before we talk more about this forgotten Ryan Reynolds romantic comedy?
I mean, I guess. Chris Klein's in it. You know who Chris Klein is?
Nah.
He was the jock guy in American Pie. We should move on.
I've never actually seen American Pie.
All right, let's get out. What?
I've never actually seen that movie. It missed me the time that it came out, and now it's been reappraised as actually being problematic. so I don't really want to go back and watch it. I've seen plenty of things.
It was problematic when it was out. So
yeah, I've seen plenty of things with what Sean William Scott since then. I'm like, oh, this dude's funny. I would like to see where he got the genesis of his career. But it's I don't really need to. I've got Goon. I've got Role Models. I don't really need any more Sean William Scott stuff. You like Goon, don't you?
I do like Goon.
Yeah, I thought you would.
Goon 2 is good too.
I don't think I've seen that one. I did see the first one though.
Goon 2 is actually better because it's more of a It's more of a take on the hockey scene right now. It's like that's more of like a introspective on like how the game's changing and people don't want to accept it and stuff. So, anyways,
Interesting. Well, let's watch Goon 2 for our next movie. Totally fits our theme. But yeah, finishing up with Angus Scrimm. He did play in Phantasm Ravager. He's a pretty old dude by then, and this I think it came out the year he died. And then Dances with Werewolves was his last credit, and that was actually came out posthumously for him. Don't know what that's about. I just thought it was a funny name.
Yeah.
Next up is Lady in Lavender, the sinister alter ego of the Tall Man. It's played by Kathy Lester. And she basically just had 2 other credits, like with this character, which is Phantasm 3 Lord of the Dead, and then Phantasm Ravager. And her only other credit that I saw was something called Wicked Little Girls. Wicked Little Girls. But Wicked is spelled with 2 Ks, and Girls is spelled with 3 Rs. And it seems like it's some kind of music project. I don't know if it's a music video or what it was, but it was some kind of music thing.
I don't even understand.
I mean, I just clicked on it to see what it was, because I was like,
And
why
it
would you
doesn't give
spell
you
it this
any
way?
information.
No, just that it was like some kind of, there's just her and then some guy who's involved, and it was like, and it said music and like genre. So I'm like, maybe it was a music video or like a music project they did. I don't know. Next up is the fortune teller's granddaughter. Yes, that's correct. That's how she's credited. That's played by Terry Calbus. Just this and then Kenny and Company. So one other collaboration with Don Coscarelli and everyone else in this, basically. The fortune teller, the grandmother of the fortune teller's granddaughter, in case you didn't have a genealogy sheet handy, is played by Mary Ellen Shaw, and she was also in Kenny and Company. There's Tommy, the friend who's murdered at the beginning, is played by Bill Cohn. Nothing else. We had Kenneth V. Jones, the caretaker, who meets an unfortunate but hilarious death. He was in Kenny and Company and then Hidden Fears, and that's all we got for him. There was Sally, one of 2 girls that I could not tell apart. Sally is played by Lynn Eastman Rossi. She was in Night of the Demon. Whoa. Not Night of the Demons. Night of the Demon. And not the original like 50s version. This is like a 1980 version. Project X, but not the like mid 2010s comedy that wasn't very good. Unlawful Entry, Reform Schoolgirl, Rebel Highway. And in both of the last 2, she plays a home ec teacher. And I'm like, are they related? Or she just have the home ec teacher look. So she was cast in those 2 things as that. And then next up is Sue, who Sue is actually credited as girlfriend, is played by Susan Harper. So I assumed it must be Sue. Why she was credited as girlfriend? Like, is that supposed to be Jody's girlfriend? Because I knew that they like Sue and Sally were supposed to be his friends, but we never got like anything about their like connection beyond that, other than they had an antique shop where Mike was supposed to stay. And then
so that's what got kind of weird, because it's like, okay, was the fortune teller and the fortune teller's granddaughter, was that the same antique shop?
No, that wasn't an antique shop. That was like a palm reading place.
Yeah.
I thought that was a different building.
I think it was the same set.
Based on the exteriors, it was a different building.
I gotcha.
But it could have been the same set. Yeah, maybe. And then the last person that I chose to add is Myrtle, who's credited as Maid, but is played by Myrtle Scotton, who just has a moment where she jump scares Reggie, and that's her only scene in the thing that we ever get the idea that she exists. And I thought it was so funny. Because Reggie's like, Myrtle, you almost gave me a coronary. And then she just leaves and is just gone from the movie. We never met her before that. We never met her after again. She's like rolled in just to jump scare Reggie, and that was it.
Solid.
Yeah. So is there anyone that you wanted to bring up or anything that I missed?
Well, so what's up with Lavender and then Double Lavender?
Oh, there was like a body double for her in a scene, I guess. I don't know if it was like that she appeared, she's supposed to be in 2 places at once, and you can see her in both places, and that's why they had to have her there. I don't remember seeing that scene, but that is what I read about it.
I'm trying to think when that would have been. Oh, I bet you I know when it was.
Do you think it's the scene where when she's in the woods and she's about to hunt for she's about to hunt Jody when Reggie like grabs the tuning fork?
Yep.
For better or worse. And then there's like that version of her and then the other version of her in front of the house and stuff like that.
I think that's what that is.
Yeah, because that one we don't really see her face. We just see her silhouette, like kind of in like her like dress, her lavender dress. So that would be the only one I could think of that it would be.
I think you're right. You're right. We did it.
We did it. And we're actually making pretty good time, probably because of all the cold medicine keeping me afloat.
Or because most of the cast weren't in anything. So if you
Just
got to
other
this point
Don
in the show, you're
Coscarelli
like,
stuff.
they keep going down these rabbit holes. It's like, well, we got to fill time, pals, friends.
We've got airtime we have to fill. We're on for 3 hours. It's guaranteed, right?
Guaranteed.
But hey, you know what?
Hey,
we did the cast. There was actually one other person that was in the credits that I didn't bring up. So there you go. I could have gone deeper, but I didn't.
Just say it now. There's one other person.
I don't have the stuff pulled up.
His dad, by the way, was one of the funeral guests.
Yeah. Yeah, that was right.
Yep.
That was one of them. All right, here I have the stuff pulled up. Oh, it was the friend Toby that like pulls up to just basically get like a exposition dump about how irresponsible and selfish of a brother Jody is.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I remember
like,
that Toby guy. He's like, "Hey, what are you in town for?" It's like, I don't know, our friend's funeral, dude. Like, it's such a funny
shithead
scene.
brother.
Yeah, it's like, hey, now I'm stuck here because this kid knows I want to leave him, and I'm thinking about sending him away. I'm like, what kind of guy are you, dude?
Yeah,
that was great. Yeah, that the actor who played Toby was like in one other thing, and I was like, he was in this movie for like only enough time to like give some like brief exposition. But if you want to know, since we have to know, that actor is David Arnson, and he basically was not in a lot of stuff. He was an assistant director on Grease 2, assistant director on The Little Dragons, production assistant on The China Syndrome, Borderline, Boulevard Nights. There you go. Last credit was additional crew on Escape from Tomorrow, which came out in 2013, and I've never heard of it. So the audience will not be seated while we go through the credits of David Arnston, who played Toby.
They will not.
All right. Well, shall we move on to the plot description? Some scary noises. Scary, like 4 notes. So, opening credits. Production company logos. For some reason, Bad Robot is here, which is like the J.J. Abrams production company. I have to assume that they like bought like some of the rights from whatever one of the original production companies would have been.
Maybe they distributed like the movie.
Yeah, like they got the rights to distribute it now or something, like in the modern era.
Right.
I sort of wondered about that because like I don't think I mentioned it up top, but Phantasm is actually one of those movies that I picked up at like a DVD sale at one of my local like movie rental places when they do like their movie sales. Like it's like, oh, it's only $5 for Phantasm. I better get it. So I'd like have like an old DVD of it probably boxed away at like my mom's house somewhere. It's like I should probably dig that bad boy out, see what the logos were on that thing. Like who was originally behind this thing. But I guess that I don't have to talk about that right now. I can just talk about the plot. Yeah, so the credits, Phantasm, capital letters, red on black, ominous tones accompanying it. But don't worry, we will actually get a melody later on. So it's actually pretty good, in my opinion. We get an exterior establishing shot of the Morningside mortuary. Don't worry if you miss this version of this establishing shot, because Shane, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it again.
Gonna get it.
How many times did you say they use this exact same establishing shot of this mortuary?
At least 15.
I would say probably out of the 90-minute runtime, probably 20 minutes are establishing shots of this from the same exact angle. Sometimes at night, sometimes during the day.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that, and I actually love. It's gonna be hard pressed to find any criticism for me of any of the shots they've chosen.
I don't have a problem with the shot. I just think they're going to use it a lot. Like there could be other angles they could use.
I'm sure they're going to use it a lot in other movies too. Like if I had to bet, like I'll bet someone in the audience a beer that building shows up in the second one.
Well, yeah, I mean it has to, if assuming that it's the same mortuary. But anyways, it's nighttime, and there's 2 people having intercourse in a cemetery. I put bone down in the boneyard. So there you go. That's what I put down in my notes. So I got to say it.
Does that take you all night or?
Excuse me. I have a sharp mind for witticisms. It took me moments to come up with it.
Mere moments.
Mere moments. Then the dude is Tommy, based on the woman, I believe she calls him Tommy. And he's got to be the most 70s looking dude I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, what has he got? He's got like sideburns that go into a mustache and like long shaggy hair.
He does.
Because I think this dude's in America, the band. Yeah, and then the woman is the lady in lavender, as we'll come to know her. Don't try to figure out the geometry of what their positioning is based on the two shots we see. Doesn't matter. They're doing sex stuff. That's all we need to know. But what happens, Shane? She takes out a knife.
Oh no.
She stabs him. He's dead.
She knifes him.
And then we get the first of many times that we will see like cuts between the lady in lavender looking down and then the tall man looking down, which is how they establish that the two are one and the same. That the lady in lavender is in fact spooky tall man.
So did everyone just like have sex with him?
What? Yeah.
Okay.
Is that, are you having a hard time with that?
No, I just think it's like
he's an interdimensional alien shape-shifting presence, dude. He can be whatever he wants.
Yeah, I get it. It's just like the juxtaposed of like it's a lot because of maybe it's just how he's looking down the whole time. So it's like, did they even actually have sex with? I don't know. I don't understand. Moral of the story, I thought too long about this.
Apparently, so. I don't know what it is. Like your question is really, I mean.
Okay, and move on.
Yeah, because like I don't know. I gathered that the shape shifting of the face was more for us, the audience, to establish that the lady in lavender and the tall man are one and the same.
Yeah, I'm gonna argue. I think it was more for the person that they're gonna kill.
Well, because they do. He does it a couple times, like change face mid like stabbing. It seems like the tall man likes to reveal himself when someone's getting stabbed. He's a man of immense violence.
It would be funnier if he revealed himself mid-coitus.
Oh, whoa.
And just shock them to death.
Well,
that's what I was getting at. I just think it was kind of funny how like never mind.
I don't really understand why even based on his ability to like do immense violence, like why he even needs to like do the lady in lavender's subterfuge, unless
Correct.
She's as much of like I was wondering if she's as much like a part of his being now as Tall Man is, and that's like it's like a compulsion of the lady in lavender to like seduce men and take them to the graveyard and then murder them. I don't know.
Right. All
right. So now that we're done discussing why the tall man has to bone down with these dudes, cut to the next day, or to a day. I guess we don't know if it's the next day, but we find Jody and Reggie. They're now at the Morningside mortuary for Tommy's funeral. And there's like what was it, Reggie I think says hell of a way to end a trio, and I was like, even though like I said, Reggie is made to look like way older than Jody here. And also Tommy looked way older than Jody too. So they didn't seem like they were all the same age, but it might just be because of, I get the feeling that Jody is not as responsible as these other guys are, or at least as responsible as Reggie is, because Reggie seems to have a very stable job. He's an ice cream man. So what is it? Jody's like, oh, I'm going to go take a look around. And then Jody's like walking around the huge marbled, like, mausoleum area where like all the graves are put, like, you know, like the graves in the wall. That's a mausoleum, right? Yeah, that's what a mausoleum is, like the tombed graves that are up and down the walls.
Yes. Yep.
It's like, man, I love this scene, like this, anytime we're in a scene like this, is from the exterior of that building, and you told me that this like marbled interior was what you're dealing with, I would not have believed you. It's like so absent like time and place. It's amazing. But yeah, while Jody's walking around this white marbled area, he hears some strange chittering. The The strike back of the what do you call it, subtitles or whatever, the whenever I turned on the captions, it said warbling. I'm like, that is not what warbling is, dude. Like, warbling's like a wobble, 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 like that kind of thing.
Right.
It did not sound like that at all. It sounded like skittering, like chittering, like of a little critter. Yeah, but we'll come to know that that's among the sounds that are made by the Jawa-like entities that serve the tall man. Like, literally just look like Jawas. They're just like dwarven folk hidden away in large brown robes. The only thing they don't have is the glowing like orange eyes of like the Jawas. Other than that, they basically are. So yeah, Jody, while he's walking around, he takes a moment to look at his parents' like grave area in that mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Mike's too. We haven't met Mike yet. Oh wait, coincidence. Cut to Mike riding his dirt bike through a cemetery because he has no respect for the dead.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
Yeah, what a kid he is. But whenever his like bike stalls out, which I couldn't tell if that was like a supernatural thing or if that was just like has it taken good care of his vehicles that they just break down. But he hears a similar chittering to what Jody was hearing in the mausoleum, but he actually gets a brief glimpse of the Jawa dudes as they like duck behind gravestones. I'm like, what are these little Jawas up to that they just like run around in broad daylight in a cemetery on the day of a funeral? Like, get out of here. Back to Jody in the incredibly bright mortuary area. He's walking around trying to locate the chittering sound that he's still hearing. I put in my notes, why the tall man would let his minions just run wild during a funeral is beyond me. But I feel like he doesn't have a lot of control over those things, despite the fact that they're supposed to be like his minions. Jody does get a glimpse of one of the Jawa dudes as it like scurries around a corner, but sudden tall man from behind. He puts his hand on Jody's shoulder very violently in order to tell him, hey, the funeral's about to start. So there you go. We got to the chapel where the funeral's being held. We got some mournful organ music, brief side conversation where Reggie tells Jody that it was a good idea not to bring Mike to see Tommy like this because it's an open casket funeral. And since he apparently had Jody says that Mike had nightmares for weeks after their parents' funeral. So it's implied that the parents passed away not so long ago. And then another thing, I don't think I brought it up, is that the excuse for Tommy's death, I guess, is that he committed suicide. So it's like, I guess that's how the tall man and the lavender lady, like, find a way to avoid responsibility is by staging them as suicides, I guess. I don't know how they do that, but they're also like interdimensional alien monsters, so who knows? Oh, spoiler alert.
I think we should talk about, because there are some things as we're talking about this that are clicking in my head with some of the symbolism.
Okay.
Okay, so was this movie, like in your research, was this movie written as part of a series, or it did so well they're like, hey, we're doing another one?
It was not written as part of a series.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
So should we just like maybe rip the Band-Aid off? Because like there are some things I want to talk about that I don't think we can.
Okay.
And I don't want to go the whole way to the end of the movie and bring it all back up again.
Why? Because we're going to get canceled? Is that what you're talking about?
No. I mean, why?
I don't know. You said because we can't talk about it?
Oh, no, we can talk about it. I'm just trying not to. Okay, so why don't we we did this in a couple other movies, so why don't we just kind of pull the fog away from what the movie is telling us is what's going on. So like, or what the movie says is going on.
The movie keeps it really vague throughout a lot of it, though, on purpose. Because I believe that there's a lot of world building that happens in this, but there's a lot of world building in subsequent movies. But I think that this one's goal is a lot more simple than what the latter ones would become. This one is, at least from my point of view, it's like a young boy's rumination on death and accepting death. Of his family.
Which includes
his brother. Yes.
So like in the beginning with the funeral and stuff, because at the end there's a good scene that kind of ties us all up with a bow. That's really nice. And you are watching the beginning of the movie, like thinking like, oh, this is all kind of happening. But because you think it's his parents, or it's it's the friend's funeral. I think it's Jody's funeral, right?
I could see
And
that.
I think that, so I think that's kind of, I don't know. So like throughout the movie, there's going to be points, and I'll bring them up, that I think, like, so the whole time, like, that Jody, I don't know. I just think it's not actually Jody. And then like, and this guy's representing death and like taking Jody to the afterlife, I thought, kind of, so for the kid, right? But he's thinking that the funeral home director's taking his family away and turning him into monsters or something. So
there is a very dreamlike and childlike logic to it, and I think that all factors into why the movie is the way that it is. Like how there's like not always like a reason that certain things happen, or how there's like some like conveniences and contrivances that are like a little too on the nose, and I think that's all intentional.
For sure, and done very well. Like the whole time, like when I was watching this for the first time, like I've seen this a long time ago, but my recent viewing of this, I felt like, I'm like, okay, like, man, this is very like dream-esque. Like there's a lot of things happening for no reason. I didn't remember the plot twist, which is cool. So at the end, I got the payoff of like, oh shit, there actually was a dream, or what they said is a dream. But then, you know, obviously there's a cliffhanger ending, because why not? But yeah, I thought it was really effective. All the symbolism with like the color schemes, like paint, the yellow paint was huge throughout the movie. So I don't know. This is one of the ones that I think, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend watching this movie. The visual presentation of what's going on is so well done and so thoughtful. It's I hate to say it like this, it's almost like an art show, right? Like there's so like the way that the mausoleum set up, the way that how like the scenes at the house play out, different colors that they use. I don't know. It just,
well, that's why very well done. Yeah, a lot of it seems like almost absent time and place, and the times where it is like grounded in a specific time or specific place are times where something is invading it from that exterior world. Like I haven't gotten there yet, but there's a scene where Mike walks through town, and it's just like a normal day in town, except Paul Man's just walking through town. You know, so there's always like it's like that dream-like logic of either it's a place so removed from what a place could actually look like that it seems like it's a dream, or it's like a waking nightmare where something strange enters into otherwise what would be a safe place, like your home or your, like, you know, town, like that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's all on purpose. And I think that a lot of like the more formalistic elements of it are probably on purpose. Like they're meant to be like almost disjointed or disconnected, or more like incident than they are like a single narrative. I think that's all on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it works really well. It makes it weird to talk about, but I think that it's good. So I don't want to show my hand and say, yeah, this is a good one, but yeah, it is a good one. So take that. But I also like some of the latter movies kind of mix it up, because like Jody is dead, but hey, guess what? Tommy's also dead. Like both these men are dead. So who knows like where this is on like the timeline of the real world versus versus Mike's dream life, and then versus what turns out to be objective reality, which becomes the latter movies basically. So Mike, as part of his ongoing character arc throughout the movie of being places where he shouldn't, is hiding in a bush nearby and watching as the pallbearers are carrying Tommy's coffin for like a graveside service, right? Which is kind of a weird thing for the hearse, because the hearse had like a side door thing that opened and then like moved it out sideways. And I feel like every hearse I've ever dealt with, you've loaded it into the back. That was very strange. But yeah, so you know, there's another long establishing shot of the mortuary from the same angle. It's always from the same angle. And I do agree with you that there's a reason for that. And that's so that we establish, like, so it always feels kind of unreal. But it also, they do beat the dead horse with that establishing shot, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, but so Jody and Reggie are preparing to depart the funeral home. Mike is still staying and watching the tall man, as the tall man single-handedly picks up Tommy's coffin and loads it back in the hearse himself. which is kind of crazy because I don't know if you've ever been a pallbearer. I've been once or twice in my life, unfortunately, and those are heavy. Those take
very heavy.
6 dudes to carry generally, or 6 people at least. So, so you just get like a scene of just like, and like Jody makes a comment about that later, but yeah, so there you go. That's how we start to suspect something's up with the tall man, other than that he's just kind of like creepy looking. And by the way, some of like what they did for him for Angus Scrim is like, he's like purposefully wearing a suit that's like too small, and he's like wearing lifts so he appears taller. Like there's a lot they did to make his outfit make him look like he's like out of place, which I think is very effective. Like I think, yeah, his performance works, but also just his physicality is so off-putting, and it really works to the movie's benefit.
Yeah, and it's shot so well. Like the angles that they chose to use, the use of lighting in this movie is probably, I know we'll get into this later, but their use of lighting in some of these scenes are second to none.
Well, that's one of the things that makes this kind of a hard movie to talk about. One is like that just the narrative logic is kind of like not there, but also how many times is the effectiveness of the scene because of how it's shot or how it's lit? And like, how do I describe that? Like when I'm explaining a plot of a movie, it's like, it's not really germane to it. I'll try to call it out when I can and why it's effective, but it's just not like, if you're one of those people that like don't ever watch the movie, I would rethink it on this one. Like this one counts a lot on visual storytelling to make its point.
Yeah, very God, why can't I remember this guy's name? It's not Frank Herbert. Who did the Dune movie? It's like Twin Peaks, very like Twin Peaks-esque. There's a lot of
Lynch.
David Lynch, thank you. Oh my God.
They're this new one, which is Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the 80s one. But no, this had a lot of like, this gave me like, well, technically Twin Peaks gave me Phantasm vibes, but there are a lot of scenes in this that are really like uncanny valley, like off-putting. There's like a lot of weird things happening.
I think it's interesting you chose David Lynch's Dune for that though, because I really felt like
no. I meant Twin Peaks. I couldn't remember his name.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was gonna say,
yeah,
like his Dune adaptation. One of my issues with it is that it's so much narration, like so much of like the main character narrating, like Paul Atreides narrating, and I really think that it kind of loses some of its effectiveness. I'm sure some of that's probably like studio interference. I'm sure David Lynch probably didn't intend to include all of that narration, but I think that kind of pulls me out of it. Whereas the visual storytelling and something like Twin Peaks, for sure. Yeah.
I just couldn't remember his name, and we just talked about Dune, so that's why I went there. But yeah, I highly recommend watching this movie. I think it's only an hour and a half. So
yeah, it's 90 minutes, like 89 minutes maybe. Yeah, it's short. Yeah, so after that situation, we cut to Mike walking towards a fortune teller's house. You can tell it's a fortune teller's house because there's a sign out front that's just a picture of a hand on it. We finally get a glimpse of the real, like before we just got mostly tones, but now we get like the real theme of this, which is like the do 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 do. It's like that's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Change.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking in my head. I'm like trying to.
So when I listened to it, I was like, oh, this sounds so familiar. What is this? And I was like, what are the odds that if I Google, what does the Phantasm theme song sound like? Or what is the theme song of the film Phantasm? I don't want to say the Phantasm. What does it sound like? And one of the Reddit posts was like, it sounds a lot like the theme from The Exorcist. I'm like, yeah, I guess kind of. I don't know if that's really the one I'm thinking of or not, but it definitely has familiar vibes, which I actually appreciated it.
This, you know what this sounds a lot like? Oh my God, it was a Sega Genesis game. I'll have to look it up, and we can get that offline. But this has like huge like
is it
like
Altered
late
Beast?
80s? No, I think it's one of the Castlevania games.
Castlevania Bloodlines?
Maybe
Shinobi 3?
No, definitely not.
Golden Axe.
But actually, no.
Streets of Rage.
No, the music in this is fucking awesome.
Columns.
Columns, thank you. You just looking up Sega games now?
I'm not looking them up. I'm pulling them from my memory palace, which is where they all live forever. Vector Man.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Oh my God.
Awesome Possum. I don't think anyone but me remembers Awesome Possum.
Nope. I had it. It's great. That's such a good game. That and Rocket Knight. There was like a very brief period of our lives that there was a lot of possum based gameplay. So I think Rocket Knight was an armadillo though, now that I think about it.
Oh, you're gonna get us canceled by, I don't know, Texas? Is that where armadillos live?
By the lepers, they're gonna come get me.
Oh, low blow, just because armadillos carry leprosy.
Yeah. Thumbs up for that one, right?
Yeah, well done, armadillos.
Ah, you didn't get the leper joke?
Oh, because body parts fall off because of leprosy. That's rude. All right, that was a good diversion. But back to Mike. He goes in the fortune teller's house. He's let in by the fortune teller's granddaughter. Clearly not Mike's first visit to the fortune teller. Because what is it? The fortune teller's granddaughter is like, Mike has returned and wants to talk to you. It's like, okay, so he's just like chilling with his local fortune teller. The visit is because Mike has learned that his brother Jody is planning to leave, which puts Mike in a precarious situation because he's 13 and Jody is his only guardian. And it's like, well, how does he know this? Well, here's how he knows this. Sudden cut to Mike and Jody driving Jody's, what was that, a Plymouth Barracuda, I believe, was the car. And then Mike was driving. I'm like, he's 13. He's definitely not old enough to be driving. But yeah, so there's something wrong with the car, and Mike is the one who's working on fixing it. And it's kind of funny because whenever Mike says, I think it's whatever, he says what he thinks the problem is, and Jody just kind of like shrugs like he doesn't even know. Like, it's like, is this Jody's car? He doesn't even know what's going on with it, but Mike does.
I don't think Jody's there though.
Well,
see what I mean? Like there's a couple scenes with the car and stuff. It's like maybe he's trying to fix it because he's trying to reconnect with his brother. And like that's when the weird things happen. And then he has this interaction with Jody.
Yeah, except another human being comes and has an interaction with Jody while Mike is under the car fixing it.
But also that person has their own situation later too. So
no, he doesn't.
Isn't that oh no, you're right.
No, he never shows up again. This is Toby.
This is the dickhead brother scene. Got it.
Yeah, this is the dickhead brother scene. So I think this is a real memory, that this was like,
you're right,
part of probably why Mike's having such a hard time.
Right.
So basically, even though Mike is right there working under the car, Jody is talking to Toby. And it's a really weird exchange. And I guess it's supposed to be the 1970s of it all. But so like Jody's like, oh, Toby, what are you in town for? He's like, yeah, Tommy's funeral, dude. Like where we just were. And then we get a weird line from Jody where he's like, I just don't get off on funerals, man. They give me the creeps. Like, what? Yeah. Who enjoys funeral? Like who's like, oh man, I can't wait till the next funeral. I hope they do like some Ave Maria or some shit. That'll be amazing.
Hey, tall man. Just saying.
Well, tall man he's a, okay. Yeah, I guess if you're an alien monster from another dimension, you definitely love funerals. And if it's like your bread and butter, that's how you make your money, presumably. Someone's paying this man.
Yeah.
But even though Mike is right there working on the car, Jody is talking to Toby about how he's thinking about setting Mike to live with their aunt since he's 13. Because he's like, Mike follows me around all the time like he knows I'm going to leave. And then we cut to one of the most hilarious scenes, which is like Jody just riding a bicycle down the street and Mike literally running behind him, like jumping like fences and jumping bushes and like hiding behind trees. It's like he definitely rolled a negative on his stealth score on that one, dude. So, but back to the fortune teller. And this is the part that I was like, I don't know that Jody is dead in this scene. The grandmother says to Mike not to worry, that if Jody leaves, he'll take Mike with him. And then he tells him what he witnessed with the tall man, how he's loading up the coffin alone. And then when Mike tried to drive off, this is a little bit more, as the tall man like seemed to use like psychic powers to cause Mike to crash. So he like wiped out his like dirt bike and then had to get back on it. It's like, interesting. Tall man demonstrating some supernatural powers here.
Good old tall man.
And I don't know if we've established it yet, but the fortune teller is not speaking. The granddaughter is speaking for her. So the fortune teller through the granddaughter says that her grandmother wants to play a game, and suddenly a black box appears, and they ask Mike to put his hand in it. And it's basically that moment from Dune where Paul is doing the
Fear is the mind
the
killer.
Gom Jabbar. Yeah, isn't that what it's called? The Gom Jabbar.
The Gom Jabbar.
Yeah, so it's like putting his hand in the box, and then the granddaughter
Isaac's
tells him
Heller.
not to fear, and she's like, "Fear is the killer. That's what grandmother wants you to learn." I'm like, okay, yeah, fear is the mind killer. That's like from Dune. Like, what is happening right now? And apparently it's just because Don Coscarelli loves Dune, and this was before the first Dune movie came out, so it's like no one had done it yet. So he's just like gonna throw in some Dune stuff. Why not?
Good old Dune stuff.
Yeah, so Mike like puts some money on the box, and then the box vanishes again. And so Mike leaves. The grandmother laughs, and then the granddaughter laughs. I'm like, why? Like, are they evil? Like, what's going on? But then it like zooms in on the granddaughter, who gets like a look of concern on her face. And so then we are like looking at like an exterior shot of Morningside again. So Morningside is like the entire area. So there's the gates that are like outside of the entire like property. Then there's the graveyard. Then there's the mortuary, and inside the mortuary is a mausoleum where like there's also bodies and like the crazy marble architecture. So just to give you a sense of place as I understand it. Now we see a blonde woman or a blonde girl, I can't tell how old she is, approaching the fence for Morningside with flowers. Was that supposed to be the granddaughter of the fortune teller, since it cut from her look of concern to that?
I don't know, man. This is when it started to get kind of hard for me to tell which of the blonde actresses that all look the same that they used. And then there's that one scene where the two are in the car together. I'm like, how are these people not the fortune teller granddaughter, but they're also at the same time? I don't know. I honestly, dude, I couldn't tell you. Maybe is this the girlfriend scene? Maybe.
No. That's Sally and Sue. Those are the ones who have the antique shop and get attacked in their Volkswagen Beetle later. So that's different.
I know, but they all look the same.
But this is a different girl. This girl, so her hair is about the same length as the fortune teller's granddaughter, but it looked like it was slightly lighter, and they never showed her face, so I couldn't see if she had the same tattoo. So it's not clear. So this might be the fortune teller's granddaughter. This might be a totally different blonde woman. Who knows? The movie certainly doesn't want to help us figure it out. But
no, and Dawn has a type for sure when he picks casting.
He very well may. So yeah, anyways, so this other girl's approaching like the fence outside the cemetery on their way to, and then we get another established shot of the mortuary implying that she's going in there. But no time for that. Reggie arrives at Jody's house in his ice cream truck with a guitar in tow in order to join Jody, who's playing his guitar on the porch whilst wearing a hat. And then we just get a scene of them like singing and jamming together in a very 70s style musical interlude, I guess, to establish friendship. No, they're good. I just like...
They're actually playing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it was... I mean, yeah, if you want to like... That was when I was like, okay, I could see them. Like, I couldn't see them being friends earlier because they looked like they were too different in age. But then whenever like, Jody's already playing a song that he's like, I guess, quote unquote, been working on. And then Mike just like pulls out his acoustic and just starts playing along and stuff like that. And they seem to have, it seems like that's how guys would jam in the 70s. It's just like, it's not the only time we're going to get a scene of Reggie playing his guitar for no good reason. And it's just going to happen sometimes, and that's okay. But there was actually a reason for this scene, wasn't there, Shane?
Yeah, it's a REO Speedwagon reference.
No. So after their jam session, Reggie takes out a tuning fork and then hits it so that it hums.
Yeah, top that joke, Stefan. I said top of that joke, Stefan.
What, the REO Speedwagon one?
Yeah.
What was the joke?
You tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Is that an REO Speedwagon joke?
Yeah, it's their album cover with like the fish with the tune. Never mind. God damn it.
But he's tuning a guitar.
I'm not playing your games.
Anyways, but that was the point of that, was to establish the tuning fork thing. From the tuning fork, we cut back to the mortuary where the blonde girl from earlier, goes to a room where there's a similar hum. She opens the door and there's a bright light in there. And then suddenly we're back to the exterior shot as she screams. And that's it. That's all we get from that. She may or may not be dead. So Jody in his Barracuda, he pulls up to Dune's Cantina, a small hole-in-the-wall bar with, based on the parking lot, literally no one in it except the proprietors and one woman who is wearing a lavender dress. Oh no, Shane, it's the lady in lavender.
Oh man, tall man strikes again.
Tall man strikes again. But and then so Mike continuing to creep is like watching from outside through a window. It's like, Mike, you gotta like sort yourself out. And that's also one of the reasons I think it's like everything that's happening that he witnesses is suspect, because how can he literally be everywhere all at once? So Jody ends up leaving with the lady in lavender. He says that his house is just up the street, but she's like, oh, no. She wants to go to the graveyard. And for whatever reason, Jody seems to think that this is totally normal. He just has a lot of game. Like, let me tell you, there's no guy has that much game that you just go in and there's one lady in the place and you happen to leave with her to go have intercourse in a graveyard. That's not real. That's a red flag. Don't go.
That's a red flag. He's like, hey, my friend killed himself in this graveyard.
Yeah, you know what? Let's definitely have intercourse where my friend killed himself. But that's show business, baby. So yeah, as they walk, the lady in lavender starts like just making out with Jody, who I'll give him credit. He does say, this is kind of spooky, isn't it? But because the power of boners is stronger, he doesn't leave and he continues as they start to make out and lay down on like one of those big flat graves. It's like, again, like, come on, guys, like, have some respect for the dead. Like Jody and Mike are basically having a contest to see who has less respect for the dead. One's trying to bone down in a boneyard like his dead friend, and the other one just rides a dirt bike through the graveyard. So maybe these kids deserve to have their parents killed, is all I'm saying.
Jesus Christ.
But then I think the only other funny part of that scene is like, whenever the lady in lavender, like her boobs are revealed, Mike creeping from the bushes says, wow. And basically the same time Jody does, like, they're brothers, but also he's 13. This is weird. Or also that. Yeah. And also it's a tall man. So, but then, Mike is distracted from the scene of his brother about to bone down by some growling in the nearby darkness. He goes to investigate it, as you do, and after some additional snarling, he gets chased by one of the Jawas. One of the Jawa doors just emerges from the woods and is running at him.
So fast.
It's fast, dude. Those things can scurry.
Yep.
On the run, Mike runs by where Jody is still attempting to get busy with the lady in lavender. Unfortunately, it's before he's been murdered. And he has like some white underpants in his mouth. Were those his? Because the only underpants we saw were his and they were white. So I was like, what's he up to?
It's a tall man's.
It's a tall man's. Doesn't matter. Because Jody says to Lady in Lavender, wait here, that's my little brother. I think he has some kind of problem. It's like, yeah, he just ran screaming through a graveyard. He might have a problem. So Jody runs him down and finally catches up to Mike to find out what the deal is. Mike describes the Jawa that chased him, but he describes it as like fast and brown and low to the ground. And Jody says it's probably just a gopher in heat. It's like, yeah, you should have explained that the brown you saw was his robe and it was bipedal. Jody, in order to make amends, gives Mike his keys to drive his car home. I remind you, he is 13. But yeah, he gives his 13-year-old brother his keys to drive home. And then he goes back to get back to the lady he left behind in the graveyard. Luckily for him, but he doesn't realize, she's no longer there when he gets back. She's Gonzilla. Well, not Gonzilla. Like, Gonzilla means dead. She's back to being Angus Scrim, probably. So back in his bed, Mike has a nightmare, which is probably one of the spookiest scenes in this, where his bed is suddenly in a graveyard and the tall man is just standing over him. And then all of a sudden, like, zombies burst out from the ground and start grabbing at him. And then cut to Jody once again rolling up to the Dunes Cantina. And this was a weird scene. This is when I started to get suspicious about how Mike can be everywhere all the time. So, like, Jody literally pulls up to the cantina, gets out, goes inside, and Mike is already there, like, walking up to it. It's like, how could he be, like, he's not the Flash? Like, but he's already there, like, as Jody arrives in a car. Oh, I put apparently Mike is the Flash in my notes. That's so funny. I'm so funny. But yeah, so why then, you know, but he's
high five yourself.
yeah, give me 2 gold stars, please. But yeah, so you know, Mike, I guess it's daytime, so he's not worried about his brother, so he's gonna go and walk down the streets of the town. And Mike's just enjoying a sucker. You know, he's going by a payphone. He checks the, you know, the little thing at the bottom to see if there's any discarded quarters. We have to explain what that means. Like young people, like sometimes people would hang up the phone fast enough that the quarter would get discarded and they would just forget about it. So you could sometimes get some renegade quarters from those. Mm-hmm. But as he's walking and just like looking at stuff, he hears like really loud footsteps, like really loud. And it turns out it's from across the street. It's the tall man just walking through town looking creepy. I love this scene. So basically, I'm going to try to describe it. What happens is Mike is staring at the tall man. The tall man is walking, and he's walking by Reggie's ice cream truck while Reggie's like opening it and like, you know, either like probably loading up with, I don't know what he's doing, just like doing ice cream truck work. And the tall man stops and he turns, and it's like he's turning to look at Mike, but then he like closes his eyes and like takes a deep breath and puts his hand up. And you can tell it's actually the cold air coming from the truck that stopped him. So he takes like a big breath of the cold air and feels it and then just turns and continues to walk. And I thought that was a really cool scene, especially since
very cool.
The reason it like, so he thinks like the tall man has seen him, like observing him, but really the tall man is just obsessed with the cold, which we know from the tall man's home planet, or at least the planet that he calls home now, that it's very hot. So the cold air would attract his attention. I love that scene. That's such a cool little scene.
It sucks you didn't see more of his home world. You get like a 10-second glimpse, but
that's budgetary constraints, baby. But back at the cantina, Jody is asking the proprietor about the girl that he left with and asking if she ever came back to the bar after they left together. And the bartender's like, was she too much of a woman for you? Or so, it's probably not how it sounded.
Dude, if I closed my eyes, I'd be right there.
You'd be right in the moment. But then Jody's like, nah, but we were messing around in the cemetery or whatever. And the bartender gives him like a troubled look. He's like, yeah, dude, because your friend was just supposedly buried there like 2 days ago. Like, you freak, you little weirdo. But anyway, back in the garage, Mike is under the Barracuda working on the car, because again, it seems like it's more his car than his brother's, which, yeah, there could be reasons for that. We don't know. He hears the telltale chittering of our Jawa dwarves in the garage around him. He doesn't see them, but then suddenly the car starts shaking around up on top of him, as though they're like jumping on it to try to get it to fall off of the jack. They do manage to knock it down, but Mike is really small, so he's not like crushed. He's just kind of pinned a little bit. Then he actually manages to crawl out after he hits Jody in the foot with a hammer when he sees his feet, thinking he must be one of the Jawas. So he just like smacks his brother in the foot with the hammer. And he's like, I heard them. They were in the room with me. Sorry, what?
Well, it's like he like could care less that that car fell on his brother. Like, that would be a pretty alarming thing for if I would have walked into a room and see a car fell off the jacks on top of someone.
Yeah, I would definitely be concerned. Like, sorry, I had to sneeze, but
not a fan of this scene coming up or this dialogue.
Oh no, what he says, what his brother says.
Yeah, it's terrible. Don't say it.
I'm not going to. I'm not a monster. So here's how I put it in my notes. Jody suggests that because like Mike is like, oh, it was those things, they were in here, they knocked it down or whatever. Jody says that it must be a local mentally handicapped boy. That's what he says. He uses a word that we do not use nowadays. This is 1979. Yeah, so back in his room, Mike is in there getting ready for battle. He like straps like a knife to his leg. He takes a small locket of some sort, which I'm assuming must be related to his parents, but we never actually get to see what it is. But he's ready to go out and presumably hunt some of these Jawa dudes. He's done. He's done dealing with them. They came to his house. So he arrives at Morningside. He hops the gate to get into like the cemetery area. Cemetery is pretty peaceful. He's able to stroll through it without any Jawas about, which is weird because they were there in broad daylight, but not at night, I guess. Not at night all the time. Maybe they were there to catch a peep of the lady in lavender boning town. That's why they were there too. That'd actually be pretty funny. So yeah, Mike cuts through the bushes so he can get to the same exact establishing shot of the exterior of the mortuary. He finds a window that leads to the basement. And I was like, oh, rather than try to be stealthy since he's, breaking and entering, he just kicks the window and breaks it and makes as much noise as possible. So rookie move. Yeah, but when Mike gets in there, he fires up a lighter and is looking around the room he's in. He finds just some old crap. He finds like a weird wig on like a white mannequin style head. I don't really know why he stopped to observe that, but he did. Then he goes through like some curtains into a room full of like open coffins, probably like a showroom for like caskets and shit. So he walks in there, but then he hears a thump as a door begins to open at the far side of the room. Mike hides in one of the coffins as a caretaker walks in. Probably, I don't know, having heard the glass breaking. But the caretaker only gets like halfway through the room when the tall man like gets into the doorway and then just kind of like wordlessly beckons like the caretaker to follow him. So they just leave. Like, I don't know if the caretaker is supposed to be an alien or if he's just like a human thrall of the tall man. We don't get a lot to understand.
Yeah. So like the other subplot of this movie is boy and his brother murder and terrorize funeral home. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if
they
this
weren't,
was if
they weren't alien monster folk,
right.
Yeah, they would just be like messing with these like this old dude and trying to run a small business. But yeah, so Mike exits, like follows them. It's a little tense as he like goes through the door slowly, but he gets into the main body of like the mausoleum area, like all of the marble halls and like the tombs in the walls and all that. And he's following the sound of like a rhythmic thudding that he's hearing. But he's also hearing some snarling coming from in there. So he opts to run, but then he sees one of the metallic orbs. One of the most famous things from this movie is the orb. The orbs that fly around. And the orb is flying at him. He manages to duck it, but at this point he's finally made enough noise that the caretaker finds him. So the caretaker catches him. And, Mike's no slouch. Even though he does have a knife, he could just murder this guy. But instead, he bites the guy in the wrist hard enough for him to bleed a bunch. And then he ducks just in time for the metallic orb to make its, like, return trip and embed itself straight into the caretaker's head via two large, like, blades that had come out of the orb. And how about this gruesome little scene? Probably one of the most famous scenes in the movie, where, the drill comes out of like the orb and just like drills into the caretaker's skull. This is like blood shooting out, and there's like blood like flying out the other side of the orb as it's like drilling into his head, and he's like trying to pull it out. That was a pretty gnarly one. Like, yeah,
it's like instant faucet.
Yeah, the blood just flying out the back of it. It's crazy. Like,
it was awesome.
I don't know the utility of this, but man, it's wild. So I'll take it. I don't care. I won't let science get in the way of a fun kill. So yeah, Mike is like standing in the hallway at like an intersection of two areas of like mausoleum hallways, not realizing that behind him the tall man had come around the corner and is just standing there ominously. And this was really cool. So when he does finally turn, I was like, not only does Mike fail at his stealth checks, he fails at his charisma checks. So he says, and just pauses for a while and can't seem to think of anything to say. He just says, "Oh shit." And then he like starts to walk, and the tall man starts to walk, and they kind of like square off for a second. And then Mike just books it. The tall man's running after him. It's such a funny, like, that's a little kid way to deal with that kind of thing.
I thought that was pretty effective. And like, I love the way the tall man runs.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, Angus Scrimm is doing like he's doing a lot of work like for the phicality of what the tall man does.
Like running in heels.
Yeah. Basically just like he like is doing like a high speed shamble basically. So Mike manages to get back to, I think, the basement steps, I'm guessing. And he shuts the door on the tall man, not realizing that he's shut his fingers into the door and they're still there. So he takes out his knife and cuts off the tall man's fingers, which instead of bleeding, regular blood like the caretaker, they bleed a yellow ichor, and he lets out like this crazy huge wail that sounds like a siren. Like that tall man was making noise. But Mike doesn't have a lot of time to rest because when he, moves down into the basement area, he is once again being pursued by Jawa hoods. They're coming at him. He manages to climb back up through the window that he broke. And they try to stop him. They're like grabbing his feet and trying to pull him back in, but he manages to get out. And we cut to the next morning where Mike is at home and he's asleep on the stairs with a shotgun in hand. And it's a pretty long shot while like Jody like gets up and goes to the bathroom, flushes the toilet and comes down and just like goes next to Mike and just unloads the shotgun. Like, really, not too alarmed, I guess, that his brother decided to sleep with a shotgun on the stairs.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's just brothers, right? Kids will be kids. Mike, this time, though, he did keep one of the tall man's fingers in a box. So he takes it out and reveals it to Jody as evidence of all the supernatural stuff that he's been convinced about this entire time. And to like many people who think this movie might go in other ways, surprise, the finger's in there, it's moving on its own, and it has that yellow goop ichor stuff that isn't blood. So Jody's like, all right, I believe you. It's like, what's going on up there? Kind of that kind of thing.
Did you notice, there was a scene coming up that Jody, I don't let me get to it later, but the color yellow seems to be very prevalent. Like, and the shade of yellow is oddly specific to the same color as the road paint yellow.
Oh, from when Mike is on the road later?
Yeah, but you learn that from what Reggie says that Jody died in a car accident.
Yeah.
So like there's a scene where he like hops out of the car, lands face first on the pavement, and then opens his eyes and it's that yellow streak of paint.
There's so much that supports your interpretation of this, and so much of it that gets disproven by subsequent movies.
Yeah, well, right. I know. I get it.
Yeah, but the idea that he's like reckoning with his own brother's death. Yeah, no, there's a lot there.
Anywhoomst.
Yeah, so Jody believes him, and so Mike reveals about what he saw about the tall man loading the coffin in the hearse alone. Jody's like, what? Those things got to weigh like 500 pounds. And it's like, I mean, easily. Easily 500 pounds, probably more than that. But yeah, so Jody decides that they should tell the sheriff and report this. So he sends Mike to go get the evidence. However, when Mike gets to his room, he notices that the box isn't moving like that would be because of the finger still being very much animated. So he stops and opens the box, and what is in there but like a monster fly?
Yeah, that was cool.
Just kind of flies out there. It's like game over, man. And there's actually like a pretty cool scene after that. It's like after he like dives to the ground, he can't hear the sound of the fly buzzing anymore. So he's like looking at it. We just get like a long scene of like slowly the fly like emerging from like behind his head, like moving up to the top of his head. So I thought it was pretty effective. A lot less effective than the scene afterwards where he manages to capture it in like a pair of pants. And then he's just struggling with the pair of pants, like the flies in there fighting him. And it's like one of those scenes like of a movie where they didn't have the budget for anything real effects wise. So it's just the actor pretending to fight with it. And then he brings it down to his brother who like does the same kind of fighting against it. And there's a moment where like they stop hearing the buzz and it stops fighting. So they both stop and then suddenly it starts up again. I'm like, that's not that effective. They do manage to get the fly to the garbage disposal where they stuff it in and manage to kill it just in time for Reggie to arrive. And Reggie at this point, he's none the wiser. He doesn't know about all this supernatural nonsense. Unlike the Reggie of later movies that becomes basically a Phantasm fighting badass. So he wants to like kind of help Mike feel better about like his life going all crazy. And he's like, how about you take a ride along with me at the ice cream truck? Cause summer school is going to let out soon and stuff like that. And I'll need some help with crowd control. So Reggie's just trying to be like another brother kind of thing to Mike. But he notices the vibes are off and Reggie's like, what's going on? When suddenly the fly emerges once again from the garbage disposal and returns to attack Mike. But Jody captures it and forces it down in the garbage disposal, presumably for good this time. And Reggie, takes it in stride. Basically, he's just like, "What's going on?" But then it basically, I guess they fill in Reggie off screen because we cut to Jody giving Mike a speech about murder. Do you remember this? Where he's like, don't point
warning shots or whatever.
Yeah, don't point a gun at someone unless you intend to shoot, and don't shoot unless you intend to kill. It's like, hey man, this kid's 13. Are you trying to send him to a high school in the mid 2000s?
And don't kill unless you want to send them into next dimensional beings' home planet.
And don't shoot unless you want to kill a flying orb. But
and don't flying orb unless you want to. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. But yeah, so Mike, I guess at this point, Mike is going to be home alone. Jody is going to go to see what's going on. I guess he wants to have a look around, is what he tells him.
Again, how fucking close is this cemetery to their house?
Apparently really close. Because remember, whenever he was at the cantina when he had the lady in lavender in tow, he's like, "Oh, my house is just up the street or whatever," but she wanted to go to the cemetery instead. So they must be really close to each other, maybe same street. I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah. So Mike reminds Jody about the broken window in the basement that he put in there, so that he can get in there and have a look around. Arriving at Morningside, we get yet more mileage out of the exterior shot of the mortuary building. Which is interesting because I keep saying it's the same angle, but they actually have times where you see people in front of it or items coming from it. So it's definitely different shots. They just always use the same angle, which I think adds to the effectiveness, like you said, when you scolded me for making fun of it.
I'm okay.
Sure. So Jody arrives at the basement window, and he enters, and he turns on a light, which, I guess Mike never thought to try to see if there's a light there. But he turns on the light and he doesn't notice that there's a Jawa dwarf just sitting there behind him. So, of course, it jumps on the back and starts attacking him. I guess it was biting Jody because according to the subtitles, there's chomping going on. And I was like, I didn't realize that, but okay. But Jody deals with it like a boss. He takes the gun, points it at the head of the thing on his back and blows it to death. Just kills that thing. And then another one's running at him and he just murks that one, sends it flying across the room with another gunshot. Okay. He's just gunning down these Jawas with his Desert Eagle he's got. So there you go. Two dead Jawas. Now Jody, is on the run and he's being pursued by a hearse. So basically, once he's running away, this is another of the exterior shots, but we actually see a car turn on and it starts to pursue him because it turns the lights on. That's how you know the car turned on. So once Jody gets to the Morningside gate, he turns and starts to shoot at it. He doesn't see a driver, but he does manage to jump out of the way of the hearse. And then another car is coming from the other direction, and he pulls his gun on that one. Luckily, he refrains from shooting at it because it's Mike and his Barracuda. And there was some kind of excuse for why Mike didn't answer him when he was asking who it was. And it was that the door was jammed. The latch was stuck on the door. He's like, man, he almost shot his brother because of the door. But now they have the hearse approaching them from behind as they drive along. Jody says, "No one's driving that, mother," which is the first of 3 times they say mother like that, which is kind of funny. Mike reaffirms that the vehicle has no driver when it pulls up next to him. It's yeah, dude, he already said that. He said that there's no driver. So, Mike is driving. Jody gets up to the top of the car and starts blasting the hearse with the shotgun that I'm guessing Mike brought the shotgun so that Jody could ride shotgun. It seems as though Jody finally scores a good engine shot because the hearse wrecks into a tree. They park and go to investigate it, the aftermath of their wanton violence. And it turns out that the hearse was in fact driven by someone, but that someone was one of the little Jawa dwarfs, and it's now dead because a branch from the tree went right through it. But then, Shane, what happens? What tragic truth do we learn when they unmask the dwarf?
It was in them the whole time.
Well, sort of. It was their old buddy Tommy.
I thought it was gonna be a little alien.
You didn't expect it to be their buddy Tommy? Although he's kind of
No.
warped and weird looking. And I think that's why they had Tommy have such like distinctive like facial hair from earlier that I kind of made fun of. I think it's like he could be like kind of warped but still be recognizable as Tommy.
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't know. I should have known.
Should have known that
Could have been his dad.
Should have known that all of these little Jawa dudes are actually the compressed dwarven corpses of their fellow humans.
Yeah,
should have called the twist. But anyways, they go to a phone booth. Remember those? And Jody's on the phone with Reggie and tells him that they got one of the dwarfs. He has to bring his ice cream truck so they can store it. Once Reggie arrives, he's surprised to find that the dwarf is their friend Tommy, and that he's also leaking that weird yellow ichor. Right. And also, it's kind of funny because, why didn't he warn Reggie that it was their friend, so that when he gets there, it's like, oh, surprise, this is our dead friend, by the way. But then it's like, then Reggie like instantly is like, they're loading him into loading the body into the ice cream truck and then padlocking it. Then Reggie's like, this guy isn't going to leak all over my ice cream, is he? It's like, oh, what, this guy, one of your closest friends who recently died? Like, and your concern is like your ice cream supply? Like, geez.
I mean, he's for sure going to leak all over your ice cream.
Oh yeah, little doubt. He's got a hole in the middle of him the size of a tree branch.
Like guaranteed.
Yeah, the dude's going to leak all over your ice cream. Like, move it if you're that concerned.
Yeah, really. What a weird ice cream truck.
Yeah, it's like a really old-timey one. But it also does have music, which was weird. I don't know. It's a weird, everything about that is kind of weird. So Jody tells Reggie, we'll meet you back at the house. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Because then it looks like they both arrive at the house at the same exact time. And are they at Reggie's house or at their house? I actually couldn't even tell at this point what house they're even in.
I think it's their house.
Okay. So Jody and Mike go in first, and then Reggie like lags behind a little bit, like looking around. And then he goes and the door's still open from them walking in. So he just like closes the door, locks it, so that they don't get attacked by tall man minions or whatever. And then he's like walking in and he's like walking slowly, like tensely, like something terrible is going to happen, even though they just walked in front of him. And then he gets jump scared by the maid Myrtle. And it's like, we never met Myrtle at this point. There's no establishment of the existence of Myrtle. And it's just like scaring Reggie. He's like, Myrtle, you almost gave me a coronary. Never to be seen in the movie again. All she does is like, are you boys home? Like I said, she jumps out and yells, basically. I love that Myrtle scene, dude. Like, what a weird scene. Like, to add to like all the times that like the logic of this movie doesn't really make sense. It's like suddenly there's like another person who could be in and out of their homes. And it's the maid Myrtle. So in front of the fireplace, our three heroes are discussing the matters at hand. Namely that apparently Jody and Mike's parents are possibly now also like Jawa dwarves under control of the tall man. Mm-hmm. But Jody tells Mike not to think about that. It's like, well, easy for you, Jody. Reggie suggests that they, what was his plan? Beat the shit out of the tall man, flatten him, and then drive a stake through his heart, I believe was Reggie's plan. It's like, hey man, we appreciate the zeal, but like Mike's like, that mother's strong. So how are you going to do it? It's like, good point, Reggie, you're not thinking. In order to keep Mike safe, Jody asks Reggie to take him to the antique store where he'll be safe. And he says, I'll have no arguments for you, Mike. And to his credit, Mike doesn't seem to give him any arguments at the time. And also for some reason, Reggie is driving while playing a song on the ice cream truck. And I'm guessing it's just meant to be symbolism because the song has 3 blind mice and all 3 of them are going to handle this situation poorly. At the antique store, we find that Mike is staying with Sally and Sue. They've made up a bed for him in the back for when he gets tired. But weirdly enough, both Sally and Sue seem to be looking at merchandise in their own store. Like they're shopping or something? I don't really understand. It doesn't matter. We don't have time to establish anything more than their names because this movie's going to move too quickly through this. After walking around and they're looking at some creepy looking antique store clutter, Mike finds an old-timey series of old-timey photos in a cabinet, like straight up daguerreotype photos. One of them is the tall man, but it's in a hearse that was like an old horse and buggy hearse. Shane, is he that old? Is he as old as the 1800s or whatever?
Where's the lavender lady?
Well, probably when we see her, it's the tall man. And it's kind of a cool scene where like it zooms in on the photo and he turns and looks at Mike from the photo. It's like, ooh, it's like a Stephen King's cool. It moment. That guy was cool. Sufficiently freaked out, Mike goes to Sally or Sue. I can't tell which one's which because the movie
certainly that had the wishbone transition.
What was that?
That had the wishbone transition where it's a moving picture to like a still frame shot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like the show Wishbone.
Yeah, with the dog, it tells us stories.
I'm trying to think of the theme song to Wishbone right now, and I just can't. All I think about is Reading Rainbow. It's bothering me.
All I can think about is Dragon Tales, and I know that's not even similar.
Tell you who's dragging tails. Who? Tall man.
What?
I don't know.
What does that even mean?
I'm so tired.
Yeah, so anyways, Mike is sufficiently freaked out, and he goes to either Sally or Sue. Again, the movie will not tell us. And demand to be taken home, which they do. They hop into their Volkswagen Beetle and hit the road. Cut to our man Reggie, who's driving his ice cream truck when he hears the snarls, the telltale snarls coming from the back of his truck that is indicating that it's the dwarf Jawas.
Mm-hmm.
You think he'll be okay?
He'll be fine.
Okay. Well, good. It's not adding any tension to this. So Jody back home takes a nap when he has a similar dream sequence to Mike. He like awakens in like the mausoleum area with the tall man approaching him from in front of him when one of like the mausoleum graves breaks open and hands from within grab him. And then he like wakes up from that dream. So it's kind of a cool mirror to Mike's dream earlier. Back to Sally and Sue. They come across the scene of Reggie's overturned ice cream truck. Mike tells the ladies to stay in the car because he's going to go and investigate. And they both simultaneously are like, no, Mike, what are you doing? But also are like, is that Reggie's truck? It's like, okay. So yeah, what other ice cream truck is there in town? But yeah, Mike goes, he opens the ice cream truck up. He finds
this scene.
Which part?
The lighting
of him, like
how it was filmed. This just like them pulling up on that truck and that backlit like silhouette of the truck. Oh my God.
Yeah, the lighting was incredible. And yeah, so then he goes up to the truck. He opens up the padlock is no longer on the door to the ice cream truck. So he opens it up and finds that Tommy's like Jawa body isn't there anymore. And the only sign that he was there is like the yellow ichor that's still covering the ice cream. Cause I guess what it did leak all over that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think Mike starts to hear the sound of like the Jawas out in the forest. So he like returns to the car and tells like Sally and Sue like go. But even though they didn't want him to stop in the first place, they're now hesitant. It's like, hey, what is that? What's that noise? What's going on? It's like, what do you guys have? Like the survival instincts of a gnat? Get out of there. So they dilly-dally long enough that suddenly the doors of the car like are trying to open up. And they're like, hey, what is that? And open the door, which allows the Jawa dwarfs to like jump in and start attacking all of them. And this is kind of a cool scene. So like the girls, so the Jawa that Mike is fighting, like gets him up to the back window and like smashes him out the back of it. And the girls like just start driving while they're screaming and drive away while they're being attacked by the Jawas and just leave Mike behind.
Classic.
It's like, why exactly did Jody trust these women?
No idea.
Yeah. So Mike's on the pavement. And this is kind of a cool situation. So Mike is on the pavement and he's thinking about Jody, who's back at home. So he, thinking about his brother, gets up from the pavement and starts to run home. So yeah, he arrives at home. Jody's surprised to see him. Mike announces that they got Sally, they got Susie, and they got Reggie. They're running out of friends at this point. Even though I would argue that Sally and Susie weren't exactly the greatest of friends. They did a terrible job keeping an eye on Mike. But so Jody says Mike has to go to his room Despite Mike's attempts to fight him, Jody like overpowers him and carries him upstairs. And he throws Mike in his room, and then he jams the door using a screwdriver in the hinge. And like, well, not safe for fires, but maybe safe from tall men. So after a tantrum, Mike is at his desk and he's having like a little bit of a panic attack kind of thing. But that's when he reaches into his pocket and finds one of the shotgun shells from earlier. It's still there. But he's frustrated, so he like slams it into the desk. Then he has an idea. So he uses like tape, a little piece of metal, and like tapes the shotgun shell to a hammer and makes like a makeshift firing mechanism. And then like,
yeah, this is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's like some real MacGyver stuff. So he smashes it against like his door and blows a hole in the door right by where the screwdriver is so he can pull it out. So he like runs downstairs, stops to grab a gun. This time it's a pistol though, not a shotgun. But then he goes to his front door and finds the tall man there who says, "I've been waiting for you." And then just grabs him and starts like carrying him with like one hand. It's like just tall man doing tall man stuff, you know? Meaning, of course, that Jody's racing to Morningside to not fight the tall man because the tall man's not there.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think supports his brother's dead thing. It's like every time his brother leaves, he gets attacked.
Oh, yeah, by the tall man.
Seems kind of convenient.
I definitely agree. I think this movie as a standalone movie is very much a rumination on grief. But
right.
So then, yeah, so Jody is like racing to Morningside, unaware the tall man is behind him in the hearse with Mike in it. Tall man is very amused with Mike's attempts to like break the glass between like the back of the hearse and the front of the hearse. He's just like laughing at him. But the joke's on him because Mike remembers he has a gun. So he just like blasts the glass, blasts through the car to hit a tire, and then like jumps out the back of the hearse. As the tall man loses control of it, crashes into a pole, and there's a fire explosion. It's like, hey man, if the tall man was a dude instead of like a interdimensional alien overlord, like he'd probably be dead. But no time to think about that. Exterior shot of the mortuary. Inside the mausoleum, Jody is opening up one of the tombs, presumably their parents, in order to see if they're still dead or if they've been dwarvenized. Mike gets into the building, but we get like a cool shot of the metallic orbs POV. It's just like a desaturated, like red tinted, like vision kind of. It was pretty cool. We never got to see that before. So, Mike though, as he's running through, he gets to like the grave that Jody had pulled out of their parents. Now Jody went to open it, but he never looked because he's like, no, you can't be, like, you must be dead, and closes it.
Right.
Mike, he opens it and it's empty, baby. Their parents are dwarvenized. They're Jawas, baby.
For sure.
For sure. But anyways, the orb comes around and it's like got Mike in its sights. So it starts to fly towards him. When Jody jumps out and shotguns it, blasts it, it explodes, it's dead. Mike starts to tell Jody that he opened the grave and found it to be empty, but instead he's just like, never mind. I'm not going to put that burden on my fully adult brother. Let's just go to the hummy spooky door that he found earlier but didn't get to, and that the blonde girl from earlier found and supposedly got because like she screamed at the exterior thing. So they approach the door, and I don't know if I said it before, so it's in like the marble part of the mausoleum, like very like regal looking, and over top of the door is like what a bunch of like plaster cast like Greco-Roman faces kind of over top of it. Was that how you describe it? That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I think they're Roman for sure. I think they were the emperors, right?
I mean, they're definitely in that style, but I couldn't recognize them
yeah,
as such.
Right. Yep. Truth.
It turns out that the tall man also used to work for the emperors. No, that'd be a funny idea though. So yeah, as they approach the door, the high-pitched like whine, like the hum of whatever's in there is like getting louder and louder. But surprise, Reggie's behind them. He's still alive, and he reveals that he found Sally, Sue, and some other girls, led them out a window, and they all survived. So yay! All of the disappeared women. I guess they don't make for good Jawas. They don't get turned into Jawas.
I didn't really understand that to be honest with you.
Like, what? Which part?
Like why weren't they turned or killed?
The only thing I could think of is that the tall man or the lady in lavender do the killing. The dwarves like do the gathering, and the tall man was still kind of focused on Mike. So maybe it wasn't like he wasn't there because he was like planning his getting in of Mike.
Right.
And remember that this story is framed like at this point we still are in the world of the movie. But if the interpretation is that this is Mike kind of having a dream of his like a grief like fever dream basically of what was going on with him and his brother and in wake of like some deaths and stuff like that, then maybe this is his mind being like, oh, but the girls are okay. They never got like, and the tall man didn't kill them because he was too busy coming after me because it's all centered around me and my grief. Like, so I think it kind of works thematically, but it is a very hand wavy way to do it. But I think it's on purpose.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, Reggie's back, baby, main character. So they're ready to face what's behind the door. And they open it up and find a stark white room with a bunch of like black barrels stacked like along the left wall and the back wall. And then in the middle of the room to the right is a small pair of like metallic poles sitting right next to each other. And they're the source of the humming. So investigating one of the barrels, Jody looks into it and he says, we take his word for it. He says, oh, these are those dwarves that have been attacking everybody. These are the Jawas. He doesn't say Jawas. Jawas is my word. But, well, it's not really my word. It's George Lucas's word. But I've been calling them Jawas this whole time, but the movie refers to them as dwarves.
No, it's fair, though.
Yeah, so Reggie stops to take a look, too, but not Mike. He sees the poles, and he's interested in them. And he discovers that he reaches his hand between them. His hand disappears. And he has like a moment of remembering. It's like, don't fear, like remembering the fortune teller thing. It's like, this is like one of two times he has like a memory to that. It's like, I think that he just like Don Coscarelli just really wanted that box, that Gom Jabbar scene in this movie. So he's had Mike like repeat it a couple times so that it justified it. Because it seems like he should have feared, because as soon as he, gets down and messes with the portal, it like sucks him in. And this is our glimpse of like the tall man's world, right? So we get
so cool.
Yeah. It's like bright red. There's like down on the ground, there's like a line of like the cloaked dwarf people, and they're seemingly like gathering the barrels that are being brought from the overworld and stuff like that. It's just like really cool. But Mike doesn't fall all the way in because he's being got by the belt loop from above by Jody, who pulls him back in. And based off of all the smoke that's coming off when he's pulled back in, it's like a pretty hot world. Like it was like messing with him. Like Jody and Reggie both had to like put out like the smoke that's on him, like smack it away.
Like he's like cindering.
Yeah, he's basically like on fire.
Like smoldering.
Yeah. So
that's the word, smolder.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. But yeah, so Mike explains that the dwarves that are being made here are used as slaves in that world. They have to be crushed here so they can deal with the gravity and heat of the other world, of the world where the tall man is from. And then that doorway is how they transport them. So yeah, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. That sounds like some kid logic, but sure. Okay.
Yeah, he made some pretty solid leaps.
Yeah. Like he was only there for a second, but it's like he like was immediately made aware of everything that's happening. But suddenly the lights go out, and like they're tussling around a bit, like talking. And Mike's like, "Oh, I got a lighter." And like one of them, I can't tell if it was Reggie or Jody's like, "Light it up." And then he does. And then as soon as Mike lights it, there's just a Jawa dwarf standing in his face.
Yeah.
And then it goes out, and then it seems like the guys are having a lot of trouble. And then this is another time where it's like, what was I don't understand anything about like the placement of this entire situation. So basically, we find Jody. He's outside in front of like the mortuary, running around yelling for Mike. So that's where he is. When the lights come back on in the portal room, Reggie's alone in there still. He didn't leave like Jody did. And then he like has a quick like flashback to the tuning fork and realizes that the reason that the two metal poles are humming is because they're like a tuning fork for the portal, which I thought was pretty cool.
Right.
So he's like looking at them, like thinking about grabbing them. Out in the bushes outside, Jody doesn't see that the lady in lavender is standing behind him, like raising a knife, like she's getting ready to like come out against him. And that's what I thought was like the double lavender, like the other double. Like I thought that was her. But, Reggie grabs both of the two metal poles. And apparently this is bad bombings for like the lady in lavender because she seems damaged by it. Reggie inside the room has initiated like some kind of like suction event, and now like the portal's just sucking everything in, and like all the barrels are flying out towards it. So he's just like doing a crawl to try to get out of there and not get sucked into like the tall man world. Reggie does manage to get out the door and close it behind him. So thank goodness, I don't want to bury my man Reggie today. No. So he's seemingly safe from further suction. However, this isn't just happening in that room. There's like a windstorm going on outside, like all the weather. Mike is yelling for Jody because he's now outside too. Again, no real hint of the time or placing of that. Reggie emerges from the house to find that the storm that he had wrought is raging. And I should mention there's like a sci-fi humming sound that's happening. Is implying like the portal shenanigans. However, out front, Reggie finds the lady in lavender collapsed, and Reggie, being the good guy, tries to help her, and like tries to help her up when she just like turns around and stabs him, and like a bloody Reggie just collapses, and I'm like, what? And Mike and Jody finally find each other in the windstorm, and this is the second time we see a scene of like the lady in lavender looking down on someone she stabbed and transforming between herself and the tall man to watch him die. So I think the tall man just loves watching people die. So he just like rolls out when that happens. So yeah, Reggie's like presumably dying. The tall man pulls the knife out, and it doesn't really seem to be any reason for this, just so the tall man can strike a cool pose, like holding the knife. Mike and Jody see Reggie. Mike wants to get to Reggie, but Jody says, you can't help him. He's already dead. It's like, Jody, isn't that one of your best friends? All right, whatever. Suddenly the entire mortuary is enveloped with like a bright red light, and then like seemingly like disappears into another dimension, which is pretty crazy. Back at the house, Jody has an idea to lure the tall man to a mine shaft, and he's like, it's like 1,000 feet straight down, and he'll never get out of there if we like bury him in it or whatever. And Mike's like, how will we succeed without Reggie? It's like, I mean, let's be honest, Reggie hasn't done a lot other than get captured and rescue some girls off screen. I mean, I know we all love Reggie, but come on.
Like allegedly.
Just his word for it. But yeah, so Jody sends Mike inside to lock up the house and look for more ammo, while Jody goes to prepare like the mine shaft and like, I guess, remove some warning signs and camouflage it for when they lure in the tall man for this terrible plan. Like, this is one of those, like, a lot of the stuff they've been doing has been kind of stupid, but at least I saw some logic in it. But this is where I'm like, this is a child's plan to lure him to like an abandoned mine shaft and bury the guy there. Like, that's just a wild plan.
But like the way it plays out in the movie makes it seem like that was the plan. But like the whole time he's like, hey, don't leave the house. And then he lures him there anyways. So I agree with you. I think this was Mike's plan, like in his brain.
Well, I think the idea was that Jody would have wanted to get things ready, and he was going to come back for Mike, and they were going to lure the tall man together. It's just things moved a little faster than he expected. Right. So Mike is checking the windows. He opens one up, locks the window. It's like, okay, good. Lock the tall man out. Goes to the second window, opens it up to check it. Sudden tall man just standing there, breaks in through, tries to grab Mike. Mike runs in to hide. Cut back to Jody. He turns and sees like a light on the top of the hill. I guess that's like the universe telling him that's a place to spring his trap. A little convenient, if you ask me, but like I think that's the whole point.
How convenient.
How convenient. Sneaking around the house, Mike is suddenly like from behind the tall man, like, I don't know, telepathically blasts open a door behind him. And is just
the window was
there.
First.
Well, he broke the window earlier. This is later afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
When
Mike jump cutting. Got it.
Because we already jump cut to Jody after the window thing.
Yep.
So
my bad.
So he blasts that door open, and the tall man's just standing there and just goes, boy. So it's like, oh, it's happening. Yeah, so Mike runs out the front of the house, running away from the tall man. Tall man is on approach. And that's when he gets his line. He's like, you play a pretty good game, boy, but the game is finished. Now you die. It's like probably the most he's talked this entire movie.
So good.
So yeah, Mike's running through some swampland. He's getting attacked by corpses from underground, which, interesting because that was like a dream thing that happened earlier, but I guess it can happen.
I was like, oh, quicksand. Yes, finally quicksand. And it wasn't quicksand. It was just hands.
It was just dead hands. But then Mike from behind hears the lady in lavender laughing. He once again uses his don't fear mantra. And he approaches her with his knife outstretched. And she has her knife out. I'm like, oh, is this about to be a knife fight? But he just turns and books it into the woods again. I think that was more like less of a fear thing and more of a luring her / him, because tall man and lady in lavender are the same. Mike stops waiting to see where his adversary will be. Mike bursts out of some foliage, takes a moment to dramatically wait, and then chases him. I love that. So yeah, they're running, and then it's kind of a surprise because Mike just like jumps, and the thing he jumps over is a mine shaft hole. And the tall man like falls into it, and he tries to grab Mike's leg, but he's unable to, and he falls in the shaft. When suddenly from above, a bunch of rocks just fall into the mine shaft hole and then plug it up. But Shane, from above in that same spot that he was looking at earlier, it's Jody. He's the one who did the rocks. Happy ending, right? The brothers will live forever now.
Perfect ending.
Okay. So what?
Wait, what?
Okay, wait. Was this another scene? Hold on, let's see what it is. Okay, so he's explaining to a very much alive Reggie that he believes the tall man is still alive and that the rocks won't hold him, that he'll be back. And Reggie explains that it's a dream and that he hasn't slept much since the funeral last week. And Mike says the tall man took my mom, took my dad, and now took Jody away. And Reggie says, no, Jody died in a car wreck, not from that tall man. Sudden cut to a graveyard, and Mike is standing over a gravestone for Jody. Uh-oh. All of this was just the mind of a child trying to grasp with the loss of his entire family.
Yep.
And then we get like a really touching scene. So Reggie explains to Mike that he had a bad dream, but he's not alone. And he explains that he will never be able to take Jody's place, but he'll do everything he can to take care of Mike. And it's kind of sad and sad music, but it's like, hey, at least Reggie's there for him. And then, so Mike says it seems so real. And Reggie says, hey, maybe we just need to get a change of scenery. We'll hit the road for a couple weeks. So Reggie sends Mike upstairs to go pack some stuff, and they can get on the road before the sun even comes up. So it's kind of cool. And then Reggie, busts out his guitar and starts strumming while he's waiting for Mike to go pack his stuff. But then what happened, Shane?
Sudden tall man.
Yeah, so when Mike gets to his room, he looks at a picture of Jody, guitar in hand, of course, because Jody played guitar. And then suddenly he moves a mirror, and then the mirror has a reflection of the tall man in it. And has one more chance to say, boy. And then suddenly Mike is grabbed from within the mirror and starts to get pulled into the mirror, like the mirror breaks and arms come out of it. And that's
same way Jody was, though. Same over the shoulder, from behind.
Yeah, from when he was cool. in the mausoleum. Yeah. So there you go. That's Phantasm. That's how it ends.
Oh, shit.
A bunch of dreamlike logic that seemed to be it was because it was the dream of a kid grappling with the death of his family, but then in the end, actually, the tall man is here, I guess. And then the rest of the movies keep running with that idea, which is okay because it gives us more chances to deal with Reggie. Our man Reggie gets to have some more time in the sun.
The old Reginator. All right, this is gonna be tough.
What is?
The McMurder of the movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Also, the dog kill thing. There's a picture of Jody and a dog. He's holding a weird Pomeranian dog at the end.
Yeah, what was that?
And the dog's not around, so you can assume the dog's dead.
Yeah, but at this point, I think you're just looking for a dead dog to just get us in trouble with our listeners.
Yeah.
But
He
no,
did-
yeah,
he
there
was coming.
is in that picture with him with the guitar. He's also got a little tiny dog, which also, yes, must be dead because we don't see it. So yeah, good point, dude. You got it in one.
Got him. My work here is done. All right, yeah, but to the McMurder of the movie.
McMurder of the movie.
I don't even put music in here anymore. I just let you do it.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Like a glove. Did you see like the Street Fighter perfect?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
What is a perfect victory called in Killer Instinct? I can't even remember.
Perfecto.
It's not that. Well, I have one that I think it should be.
All right, go. I think we have the same one because how couldn't it be this?
So we're definitely going to say it's the caretaker getting the orb to the head.
For sure.
Yeah, it's got to be the caretaker orb. And I
Turned his brain into a faucet.
just like blood shooting out of his head.
Fucking sprinkler.
Yeah, I love that. But okay, so like I was thinking about it. It's like, is that against our rules? Because the caretaker seems to be villainous. So he's trying to accost the kid. But at the same time, I think it still fits with our rules because it's not like one of the heroes of the movie killed him. He was still killed by the machinations of the greater villain of the story. So I think it's allowed. So I'm going to allow it because it ruled.
Yeah, but also those people are all enslaved, so it's not like they don't want to do this stuff.
The caretaker? I don't know. He wasn't a dwarf. I felt like he's just there for the paycheck. He just didn't care.
Yeah, he's
like, times is tough. I need this. I need the money.
Scruffy hear you. Scruffy don't care.
Scruffy loves his company.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with caretaker orb to the head, right? It had to be.
Yeah.
We knew it. Everyone knew it. They knew it before we even watched it.
The caretaker knew it. We knew it. Tall man knew it. Lavender tall man knew it. Double lavender knew it.
All the lavender squad. Every Jawa in the Red Planet knew.
Full lavender.
So, man, I love Angus Scrimm. I kind of want to watch the other movies just because I loved him, like seeing him do stuff.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Did you ever see, by the way, there's a commercial for Fangoria with like Angus Scrimm in it?
No, I didn't know that.
It was so funny. It's just him being like, sometimes I like to do some light family reading. And he like opens a coffin and it has tons of Fangorias in it.
I'll have to check that out. That's awesome.
I'll see if I can find a clip of it and send it to you. You can cut that out. I don't think that's like
apropos
of anything. It's just something that I saw that recently because like I follow Fangoria on Instagram and they like reposted it. It's like, it's Angus Scrimm. He showed up. But all right, so we got our Murder of the movie done, and it was relatively painless. No debate to be had. So now it is time for us to move on to our
Judgment categories.
Pause so you can put in some effects. Because I don't know how editing works. Okay, so as people know, the judgment categories, we ascribe a letter grade to 5 categories. They are story and writing, acting, effects, music, which includes sound design as well, and then cult factor, which is that little X factor that makes these movies so good. What's that from? Oh, it's from Teen Girl Squad. So good.
Dag, yo.
Uh-huh. So we'll start with story and writing.
Okay. Start it.
I love it. I think it's great. Like I like that we can debate about like what was actually happening and what wasn't happening and why it had like this dreamlike quality and when his brother would be doing this and when he'd be doing that. It's like, is it just a kid grappling with grief? Is it a kid trying to put a face onto death? Like, is it actually an interdimensional giant alien man that sometimes turns into a woman to have intercourse with guys in a graveyard? I don't know. Maybe it's all of these things. Will Reggie's music career ever take off? I don't know. That's just a nice subplot to think about for later. And I like that like when you think that it's like pulled the wool over our eyes and it's like, no, it was all a dream, and then suddenly tall man. I love that.
Sudden tall man.
Which, by the way, spoiler alert, I did watch a little bit of the beginning of the second one.
Okay.
Reggie saves him. Reggie like comes in.
Oh, so it's like right after.
Yeah, it's literally like right after.
Shit.
Yeah, so like Reggie, like not to be like yeah, he was already heroic the last time we saw him, and he's gonna continue to be heroic because that's just who he is.
Mm.
And I actually saw a scene like when I was like going through IMDb of one of the ones that it looked like it was like really recent, because like Reggie, the actor who played Reggie, was like looking kind of older. You know, time affects us all. But he had another instance where he's standing in front of like two of the like the tuning fork poles, about to put his hands on them again. I'm like, oh man, is he gonna have like another moment like that where he like stops the tuning forks and like wrecks a dimension? Like,
yeah, the trailers look fantastic for the other ones. I'm gonna probably have to watch all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna have to watch them just because I want to see. Like, I know that none of them have the reputation this one does, and that's fine. But I guess I kind of got sidetracked though. What I was trying to say is
yeah,
for the writing in this, I think it's great, and I think that the reason that like the tall man's like few lines are so iconic is because they're so few. Like, they really commit to having him be like a presence, and that's why it's like so hard to talk about the plot. Is because I think that you have to include some of the shot composition in like the writing in the story, because it's like literally using the visual medium to tell a story. And I think they do it like Don Coscarelli's like what he set up here works so well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's the use of lighting in this is just brilliant. That's all I can say. So yeah, A for sure.
That's what I love about like when it's in the mausoleum and how bright and like marble.
Oh
and,
my
like,
God, it's so
like
good.
every time you're in there, it's like it's another world from the rest of the movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, A for.
But it feels alien though, which is weird.
Yes, because it is presumably a real place. I'd had to assume that was like an actual mausoleum somewhere. They're just like in such stark contrast to like the rest of like the interiors and exteriors throughout the movie. So good. All right. Well, we're in agreement on A for that.
Yep.
How do we feel about acting?
I think this is the only part of the movie that suffered a teeny bit compared to any of the other categories. And I wasn't like a fan of Mike. I don't know why. I just couldn't get over how he looked, I guess.
Ow.
Well, no, but it was like he always was like just bewildered. It was just weird. Like not physical, not like his hair, his dress, like how he was dressed and stuff. Just like how he just presented himself. Does that make sense? Like it was always like, it just seemed weird, I guess. I don't know. But maybe he was supposed to be the weirdo.
Well, that was kind of like the idea, is that he is often frantic and concerned and like anxious and like always following his brother and always like investigating stuff that he shouldn't be investigating. And then like only finding comfort from like the fortune teller lady. Like all of these times, like where it felt like he was always on his heels. And I thought that was part of like the grief thing, is that he was like struggling through like all of this loss in his life. And that was why he kind of like always like had like this frantic sort of like reacting to everything happening around him. And even when he was trying to be proactive by being a weird creep and like following stuff around, something always managed to like surprise him and throw him off.
Yeah, I guess that was the point. It annoyed me, so I guess it worked. So I can't complain. So I don't know.
You can
complain. I'm nitpicking. I'm nitpicking. So like, I'm trying to find some faults because I just absolutely love this movie. But
like, I thought the weakest link in this was actually probably like, I didn't think Jody was all that good. I think
really?
He was fine, but it seemed like he was like a little bit disinterested.
Yeah,
Like the actor, like it didn't seem like he was.
because he was dead.
Yeah, because he was dead. No, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really that sold on him. And like maybe like that was kind of the point, is he was disinterested because he was like preparing to leave his brother because he just didn't want to be tied down anymore. But I just thought it was so interesting that like seeing like Reggie, seeing more like an older brother
Right.
to Mike, even before like we knew or found out that his actual brother Jody was dead. Like you always seemed like Reggie was a little bit better at that and stuff. But you also have like gold standard acting performances like Angus Scrimm.
Yep. Tommy struggled a bit though, I think.
You sure did. It's like you could only be alive for like one scene. What's the deal?
You know, Myrtle. It's a tough one.
Hey, I won't have you say anything about Myrtle. She did her
Girlfriend,
job.
tough one.
Girlfriend. Well, that's what I mean. Like, there's so many like forgettable characters, like one note characters that you have. Like, I liked Mike's performance. I love Reggie. I love Angus Scrimm. The lady in lavender, her purpose seemed to be very specific. I think she did a good job with it.
Yeah, it was creepy alien. I mean, it worked.
Yeah. Like,
I'd go A on this.
I thought we were gonna go to B. I thought that was what we were arguing.
No, I just was nitpicking with Mike. I had to pick a character I didn't like. It was him.
Ah, yes. Then we'll go A.
Yeah.
Hooray for A. Next up, effects.
Ooh. I mean,
Lots of Jawas.
I'm gonna.
OTD.
Can I take this one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Effects pretty good throughout the whole movie. The last like 35 minutes kicked it up to like a whole new level. What they were doing with the pillars, like the tuning fork things, was fucking awesome, right? The white room with the black barrels didn't really do it for me, but I make those for a living, so like I see them all the time, so they don't like it. To me, that's like, okay, whatever, right?
Yeah, so what is this, Donkey Kong's house?
Yeah, really. But man, the orb thing, crazy as hell. That was awesome. Even like I joked about the quicksand thing, but even like the dead hand grabbing things were pretty effective. I think they did a good job in this. I'd go A for sure. But I loved the going to the other world, even for the brief like 38 seconds or whatever that was on film, or maybe a minute. It was fantastic because it gave you such a sense of scale for what was happening. Like, you know, because you saw a whole line of those Jawa people for like as far as you could see, right? So
yeah, and they were like unloading the barrels of more of them.
Yeah,
and stuff.
so good,
yeah,
dude.
It was great. Like, yeah, and like that's what I mean. Like, there was literally 15 seconds of that scene. Like, it was so fast. But yeah, even like when the tuning fork thing happens and like the entire thing is being like the storm's kicking up and it's like starting to like ruin everything, and you hear the sound of like the hum of as it's like suffering from like the whatever tone was happening that was like been disrupted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that entire sequence was awesome. And even like before that, whenever we had like the scene of like Angus Scrimm like coming to like Mike's house, like breaking down the door and just standing there, or like taking him away, and then like the car crashes, like explodes. It's like, oh man, it's almost like a kid thought of this, but it was like really effective.
I'm also a sucker for good car scenes, and this had a lot of very good car scenes. Like the hearse was awesome. Anytime the Cuda's on screen, it's fantastic. So yeah, I this is an A for sure. Pretty solid A for me.
All right, we're gonna go A on effects because I agree. I think it was really good. I thought that it was minimalist, like it understood its budget and it did as much as it could to stretch every like dollar out of it could.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And also that scene with the blood fountain.
Yeah, and like this, I think this goes to show you that you don't have to have a horror movie constantly be killing people and all this gore and these crazy kills to be effective. I think there was a lot of scenes where they were able to accomplish what they wanted based off of like literally how they shot the scene. Like even like, oh my God, I gotta stop talking about how they filmed this. But the bedroom scene when the brother rams the screwdriver into the door, and then there is a full room shot from probably, I don't know, maybe like 8 feet or 9 feet off the ground looking down into the room. So you could see the entire room at one time with him walking around and pacing. With yeah, just brilliant.
Yeah, like
Like
when Mike was having his like panic attack and stuff. Like,
yeah,
yeah, that was good. That was really good.
yeah, because Don, was it Coscarelli? He did all this stuff. So he directed it, wrote it. He was a cinematographer. He also did all the editing. So like when you say this is like a master class, like this is probably a film you should watch if you're in film school, because like the shots that they are able to accomplish, and I mean their use of lighting alone, to me, like it's just mind boggling. Like that scene with the ice cream truck overturned, and there's just that solid blue light just beaming past the truck. So like when your perspective is like, like, I mean, like everyone's been outside in the morning when there's like in a forest when there's light coming through trees and stuff, and there's like a really weird like glow like to the fog and stuff. Yeah, they absolutely nailed it. I mean, this to me is like one of the best filmed ones we've done so far.
Even with
So
interior lighting too, like the moments where
yeah.
like
Oh my
that,
God.
like when Mike turned on that light, or not Mike, when Jody turned on that light in the basement of the mortuary, and there's just
Yep.
like a Jawa chilling there. It's like, oh no. Or like when Mike did his lighter in the room with the tuning forks right after
Yep.
like the power went out, and he like lights that lighter up, and there's just a Jawa in his face. That was so good. He has a
Yeah.
lot of tricks with lighting that they do. And that's not even to mention like just a scene with like Angus Scrimm standing somewhere being lit weird, and it's like, oh, that's creepy. I don't like it.
Yeah, the chase scene where they like launched him out of the bush was pretty cool too. Like just the sense of urgency you got from the chase scenes were really well done. I could talk for 2 hours on this, so we should probably put a pin in that.
So we'll call it an A for effects then.
And A for affects.
Affects. And that one kind of bumped up against like a couple of other things. Like I think it bumps up against like the performances. It bumps up against, you know, the writing, since Don Coscarelli did everything. So yeah, I think I would say A, because all of that is a factor in effects. It's not just gore. And I feel like a lot of times when we talk about effects in this, because of being a horror thing, it's usually about gore. And that's not to say that the kills weren't effective when they happened, but that's not all that goes into it. So I think it's good to talk about that.
This is the power of a filmmaker, not just like a director or a writer. This is someone that has like a total vision and can realize that vision throughout the entire process. And that's why I think this is so successful.
I agree.
Yep.
Next up is music.
Yeah. That fucking theme song slaps.
I do like the theme song a lot.
It's so good. Yeah. Did you catch the Instagram post I put up?
No, I didn't.
So for anyone that hasn't seen that yet, go over and check out our Instagram. I posted a teaser for this episode with one of the posters for the movie, and I found a like metal version of this song. Not metal, but like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a really sick version of the theme song. So you should go check it out. It's pretty cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a great theme song. Like it was good to finally get to like a nice little like, I don't know, like especially since Piranha had like the full like kind of bland orchestral thing. And I hate to compare movies back to back. That's not fair, really. But man, just like this, the simplicity of it. And like sometimes it's just like tones, but that works because a big part of this movie is that there's like a resonance happening because of like that dimensional gateway. So it like pops up a bunch of times. So it fits like the aesthetic that he's going for.
100%. And the sound effects that they used for like the hand going through the portal was really well done. There were like a few audio issues that I think they had to overdub like a line over something, like something happened while they were filming. But I mean, that shit happens. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think that whenever Mike hit his brother with the hammer. Like it feels like they had to overdub his reaction to that. It was a little bit off. I don't know, but it wasn't enough to really pull you out of the.
No, not at all. Not even close.
And I will say that like the sounds that the Jawas made later, where it was more like a snarl, I thought was a little more effective than the very early stuff they're doing, which was like a weird little chittering. Because I think it was a little bit more menacing to have them be like growling or snarling, because it kind of like made them seem like they're a threat instead of like, I don't know, like an Oompa Loompa just goofing around in the cemetery. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. I had one other thing I want to talk about sound with too, or music. Oh yeah, so with the theme song, the same thing with Killer Clowns, right? If you have a good song, reuse the shit out of it, and they did that so well here. It wasn't like thrown in your face constantly, but like you knew when it was like time for shit to go down. They're playing the theme song again. Like that, again, that's a very effective way to use something you've created. You know, again, Killer Clowns did it. I'm trying to think of some other movies that Jaws does it. There's a bunch of other movies. But I think what's cool about this song specifically, the theme song, is it captures 70s horror so well. And I think it's interesting because this is like the end of an era, right? Or the end of the decade. So like they were able to, like, you can kind of hear some new things that are coming out, right? Does that make sense? Like you can hear kind of where music is kind of going for this genre, but you also pick up, like you were saying about the Exorcism, like the piano riff. You're also picking up some like really cool early 70s kind of instruments coming through. So I loved it. I was a huge fan of the soundtrack.
Yeah, and that's not even to say like, I know I kind of made a goof about like the scene where Jody and Reggie were playing music together, but it was very much like that was like a very 70s feeling song, and they were just kind of jamming together. But I thought it was actually a pretty good moment with the music, and it kind of helped to flesh out their characters a little bit more. And we usually don't talk about diegetic music in that way, like music that they can actually hear in the movie as opposed to music that like only we hear.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought it was cool to have like the diegetic music actually pop up and actually like help to flesh out these characters and not just be like a cheap moment for something stupid,
Yeah, I think with like because I was kind of concerned with Reggie at the end when he was like picking up a guitar. I was like, oh no. But like they do it in such a way that it's like natural for him to have done that. Like that becomes more of a character trait rather than like, hey kids, let's sit down, I'm gonna play guitar and listen to me sing and play. It was kind of like you could see him sit by a fire and kind of just pluck through some chords.
Yeah, like he's about to hit the road with his like new little brother. Like he's just relaxing, like passing the time. Yeah, it's like that, and that was kind of like the character we got to know of Reggie throughout, which is kind of like I've got to be honest. I think the big part of the reason that I even want to watch more of the movies is to get more Reggie action in there. I just want to see what Reggie's up to for the next 4 movies.
And like he's like the lead. Because like you watch this movie, he's probably, of all the main characters, he's probably in it the least, right?
Yeah, probably.
Which I kind of love that sometimes, where you kind of get to know him as a character just from the few times that he's like presented, but at the same time, like it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like sometimes you watch these movies and people don't earn the respect of the screen time for like being that main character. It's kind of hard I'm trying to think of a movie that kind of does that, where they'll just introduce a character and then, now this is the main character. I think they did a great job at kind of presenting Reggie in a way that makes you kind of give him the respect of like, hey, now I'm going to take over this kind of franchise role. So yeah.
In Maniac Cop, when Bruce Campbell's the main character, even though I
didn't want to say
Tom Atkins.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but for sure, it's kind of like one of those things where,
I mean, I do like Bruce Campbell, but
yeah.
He wasn't why I showed up. I was there for Tom Atkins. But yeah, no. So yeah, I would say we kind of really got off of the music thing there.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say A.
A.
It had to be
A.
And then cult factor, that little X factor that makes these movies so special. It's A. Like, I don't even know,
It's
like,
A.
we don't even really have to talk about it, dude. We've been, like, kind of singing this movie, its praises.
I know.
This entire time.
Well, so where does that bring us now?
Well, we're indeed. Oh, by the way, before I do that, hold on. Like, I was going to say one thing. I was like, Reggie, the best horror movie ice cream person since the Terrorizing brothers.
Yeah, hell yeah. He's a precursor to the Terrorizing brothers.
He is, yeah. Like he walked so they could run. he walked so they could run into a circus.
He strummed so they could bang. Circus clowns in a spaceship.
Why do you always have to bring that up? But yeah, he did. All right. Well, speaking of whatever that is, the next thing we have is the D-roll. Do, 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 do. Roll. So yeah, the
roll.
The roll. Yeah, so the D roll. That is our little hat in the hat, the next category that we just added in because whatever, we do what we want. It's where we slot the movie into one last category, and that is one of four, and they are cult classic, B movie, grindhouse, or trash. And nothing yet has been trash, and hopefully nothing ever will be.
Hey, speaking of trash, every time someone uses the word slot, I can never get out of my head the Beavis and Butthead joke where they're when Beavis and Butthead do America and they go to Vegas and they're in that bus, and the lady's talking about going and playing the slots. They think she says sluts. I just like every time everyone says,
"I know the joke you're talking about," but I definitely haven't thought about it in well over a decade.
I don't know why.
You think about it that much?
I do. That's my Rome, I guess.
That's your Roman empires.
Is just that joke from Beavis and Butthead.
Cool.
That and Are You Threatening Me?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's classic.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways.
All right. So I'll stop saying
slots.
Slot it into a category since you apparently have to think about Beavis.
Hot slots.
All right.
I love Mike Judge. Some of that shit is so funny, and it gets better as you get older. I don't even know why, but anyways.
I do need to revisit Beavis and Butthead. It's been a while. Because I know King of the Hill is pretty great, but I've not revisited Beavis and Butthead at all.
Yeah, I mean, King of the Hill is definitely superior, I think. Just because it has more of a concrete, like you can relate to most of the characters in that show. If not, people that can. So, or that, yeah, you get it. So,
anyhow, the D roll, for the, oh man, I was trying to think of something.
I think it's a hot slots.
Stop it. I was gonna try to think of any Meg Judge property that involved a D in it, but none of them do. Beavis and Butthead has no D's. I guess and then I was like, okay, well, what about like Idiocracy? I mean, there's a D in that, and probably all of their like high school grades were D's because everyone in that movie is dumb. But the D roll isn't dumb. The D roll's great. Anyways, cult classic, B movie, grindhouse, or trash. It's cult classic. It has to be.
I mean, 100%.
Yeah, and it's not just us saying it, it's the entire Earth. Even though we're willing to fight against the Earth sometimes. Like, when they say Slithis is not, and we say, yay, it be.
Am I an idiot? And I just never knew that Mike Judge did Office Space?
Oh, you didn't know that?
No. Why did I not know that?
I don't know. That was like a pretty big deal.
I know. All right.
I don't know if you want to say more. Like, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good.
I didn't know he created Silicon Valley too.
That's true.
Huh. Well, the more you know.
There's a through line on his career, and a lot of it involves like analyzing certain subsets of like demographics, and like it's kind of a weird through line, but it is there.
Yeah, I mean, his social commentary is just the only people I think that do it better consistently are definitely like Trey and Matt from South Park.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, and like this isn't a slight against Mike Judge. I think that Trey Parker and Matt Stone have probably evolved a lot more over their time than he has.
For sure.
And I think that's just because he kind of, well, no, because Beavis and Butthead is a pretty far cry from some of Slater's stuff. So yeah, maybe that was like an oversimplification, but I do think that because they've used the same show, the same platform, basically their entire careers, the evolution is a little more evident in how they think about things, which is cool.
Yeah,
you love to see it.
Yep.
So can we say cult classic for D-roll then?
I mean, 100% cult classic.
Okay, we said that already. Okay, I can't even remember.
This is like this is the cult classic. I think to me, this is just like the artwork, the music, the everything. It's just such a good movie.
Angus Scrim.
The Scrim.
I was scrimming on the Scrim.
God, I would have loved to have been able to see this for the first time in a theater. Can you imagine some of these movies? You just like don't know what this is about, and you just go to it, and this is like what you get.
That would be awesome. Did I ever tell you that when I actually did first buy this? So I was in high school, so I can be forgiven. I didn't get it. Like I really like I had the DVD. I bought it at one of those DVD sales at like one of the Titusville movie rental place. I don't know if it was like Family Video or Hollywood Video, whatever it was at the time. And I just like I bought it and I watched it and I was just like, I don't see like it was too like all of the stuff that I'm admiring about it now, like about the dreamlike quality and like the almost lack of cohesion and logic to it, like bothered me at the time. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. But like now it's even over the years, I've come to appreciate it more and more to the point now where it's like, I get it. I get it now. So it's like idiot me back when I was like 17, just buying up a movie at the movie sale because I saw it on like AMC's 100 movies, 100 scares or like one of those. Or maybe was that Bravo's? Like there's like a Bravo one and there was like an AMC one. There were like 100 scary movie moments or 100 movies, 100 scares. And like the scene with the scene where Mike's in his bed and then the tall man is standing over it and then it opens to the graveyard and the hands come out. That was like one of those moments. And and like I remember it and I was like, oh man, that looks so cool. I wonder what the movie's like. I should have known from that scene like it's gonna be very like dreamlike, it'll have its own internal logic, but I just wasn't mature enough as like a consumer of media yet to appreciate it. But thank goodness I've come around on that I understand.
Dude, these Japanese posters of the movie are fucking wild.
Oh, are they good?
Yeah, I love the late 70s, mid to mid 80s Japanese like art style, like because they all have that same vibe.
Ooh, they really lean into the orb, don't they?
Yeah, it's so cool though with the shape and stuff. Like, anyways, yeah. So that was Phantasm.
It was phantasmic.
Ooh,
fantastic, but fantastic. That
was good.
Yeah,
that's good. Give that some air to breathe.
Boy,
I've been waiting for you.
That's actually so. Like, okay, this is my last digression, I promise. And then we'll announce the next movie. So, you know how after the God of War games, like the two new ones, and how like Kratos always says like "boy" to Atreus, and everyone was saying "boy." I was like, why is everyone talking like the tall man? Because like at that point in my life, I was finally like at the point where I was like an appreciator of it. And the people were like, boy,
that's good.
I'm like, yeah, boy. What about him? What about the kid from Phantasm?
You're like high-fiving people. Yes, these people get it.
We get it, right? It's like, no, they're talking about Kratos.
One of us.
Yeah, but that's like one of the things that came to my mind. It's like I eventually caught on. I'm not the dumbest boy in school. Boy. But yeah, so I eventually caught up that it was not about It was not about Angus Scrim.
One can dream.
I want to live in a world one day where everyone is referencing Angus Scrim.
Yeah. That was Phantasm. So what's up next at the Darkside Drive-In so people can stay peeled?
What's up next at the Darkside Drive-In? No, you want me to announce it?
Yeah.
Do you want to say that stay peeled again thing since I stepped on your toes with it?
No. I think you're stay peeled for our next movie.
Stay peeled. Death Ship. It's going to be Death Ship.
Nice.
Yeah, not to be mistaken for Ghost Ship, which is a much later and very different movie, both in terms of quality and year. But yeah, Death Ship, the story of a cruise ship that's sunk by a Nazi ghost ship, and then they go onto that Nazi ghost ship. Yeah, I was like, I want to go back to the 80s for another movie since we did a bunch in the 70s, and we decided to take a 1 year leap to 1980 for this one.
What a leap it was.
What a leap. Gotta tell you, I'm not actually that familiar with this one. I've seen it before, but it has been a long time. So I don't have fond memories of it, so we'll see what happens. I will say it's on Tubi, so there's that.
There is that. And it's not rated very high, so we don't, look, keep your expectations at a minimum, and then you won't be upset about the movie. I'm actually pretty excited. It looks fucking awesome. So
take your expectations.
I love shitty movies.
Take your expectations, put them into one of those little ships that drill to the core of the earth in the core, and put it in there and let it go down to the core of the earth, and then have it restart the core of the earth spinning.
And then buy a Shakma.
You're just gonna name drop another movie that we're not even gonna cover like in the near future.
So the problem with doing this show, folks, is Tubi is both a blessing and a curse. So as we look for new movies, I see other movies that I'm like, I would like to see this. So every time we record, I add at least 10 to 15 movies to my watch list. I mean, and I do hit them and try to knock it down, but man, it's just going to take me forever to get caught up on things I want to see. So
it was Shakma. That's the name of a movie that he said there.
Yeah.
Which we could do it. We could always do like a Scary Monkey Block and do Shakma and Monkey Shines. And then like what, Creep Show with Fluffy? Is that the one is in there? With
yeah, there's another one we're missing though. That's like really big. That was right around that time.
King Kong?
No, it's the disease. Big. They have the disease.
Outbreak.
That's
a capuchin, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, okay, never mind.
That was from like 1997 though, wasn't it? That was like way later.
You're right. I think it might even be later than that. Like, yeah, I think 97. I think you're right. Well, we could just watch Babylon 5.
Oh, it's 95. I was off. Sorry.
95. Yeah.
Still a little late. Wait, what did you say we could watch?
A little late. Babylon 5.
It's a television program. Then it's sci-fi. That's not even close to the project we're doing here. What do you do? Are you just Googling things?
No, you should see my list. Okay, I'm just from the last time. I'm just gonna going through this, folks.
Don't take this as a things we will be covering. It's just things on his list.
Well, some of these we will probably cover, but not all of them. So I added the Keanu Reeves hit Man of Tai Chi. I added the Jensen Ackles hit 10-inch Hero. I added Terror at 10 Killer, which I love the title. There's Nothing Out There, Shakma, Creature, The Jackal, Triple Cross, Return of the Living Dead, Babylon 5, Colossal, Eye for an Eye, The Blind Swordsman, Stargate, and Hardcore Henry. So, and that was just today.
Hardcore Henry is actually a pretty fun movie, but definitely outside of But there are a couple there that I'd like to see us do. One that I would very much like to see us do very soon, but
Shakma.
Yeah, obviously Shakma, definitely not.
Or Creature.
I actually don't love Creature.
That's wild to me. That checks off a lot of boxes for you.
It does.
Apparently not, though.
No, it does. It for sure does. You know what?
All right.
I'll rewatch it.
Dude,
I'll rewatch it and we'll find out. But no, the one I was going to say is Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, no, that one for sure. That's on the list. I'd really like to do a of the block at some point in our lives.
Sure. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Shit.
Return of the King. Return of the Living Dead. We'll just do it. Just do it. Return block. Sounds good. Got it. Got a block. Got a gallon.
God.
Got
a gallon.
Can we please get out of here?
Oh my God. Well, we did some housekeeping at the top of the show. I've got nothing else to say. We've managed to take an hour and a half movie and turn it into 2 hours, which is I think our specialty and talent.
It's a gift.
You find another show that does that, and I will tell you to probably listen to ours instead.
We'll fight them with claymores because there can only be one.
Dude, I thought of I'm like, why would we put anti-personnel mines down to fight these people?
Oh,
and then
no.
I just realized, then you made the Highlander reference.
Oh, no, different claymores.
Too much Call of Duty.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's your fault.
Also, yes.
Well, I've been Shane.
And I've been Stefan.
And thank you for tuning into the Darkside Drive-In, where we cover horror movies from this time 70s, sometimes 90s, and usually the 80s. I forgot to do the tagline in the beginning, so that's my bad.
Yeah, and you also switched it up and made it different.
I did. Keep it spooky.
Keep it spooky, boy.
Boy.
Play a pretty spooky game, boy. Bye.